In December 1998, 3 fanatical Ravens fans retreated to the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland. They vowed only to return when their team turned things around. Last night, their footage was found.
6-10 last season. I just want a winning record. I just want Scott Mitchell to have a glory here like in 1995. I just want Priest Holmes to be mentioned in the same sentence as Terrell Davis. I want our defense to be compared to the greatest defenses ever. The Rams are our first test. We gotta get out of the woods.
CBS is proud to present the National Football League. Today, we come to you from St. Louis, Missouri, gateway to the West. The Trans World Dome, where the Ravens and St. Louis Rams are set to go at it. It's kickoff 1999, opening day in the National Football League. And coming up, it's the Rams and the Ravens. They'll get it going under the lights. Welcome back to St. Louis. Rams and Ravens. St. Louis won the toss. They will receive the football. Number 82, Tony Horn, back deep, ready to receive. And kicking off, Matt Stover for the Ravens. And the 1999 season underway. Horn in his own end zone, takes it out. Breaks around the right side, still running with blocker. Down the sideline. Cuts it back. Horn tripped up at midfield. However, he stepped out of bounds at the 27-yard line. Deron Jenkins making the special teams tackle.
Gus, you'll see him just step out of bounds right there, right about the 28-yard line. It was a heck of a cutback right here by Tony Horn. He is almost going all the way, and there's a lot of excitement already, and the Rams are really pumped up about this new offense and the weapons they have.
Sellout crowd, over 66,000 expected here at the TWA Dome, and the Rams with their new quarterback. They start 1st and 10 from the 28. Kurt Warner replaced Trent Green as the starting quarterback. Green going down against San Diego during the preseason. 1st down and 10. Robert Holcomb, Marshall Faulk, the draw play. Here's Faulk going through the hole, gets up to the 30-yard line. Now offensively for this St. Louis Rams squad. Let's take a look. Up front, their best player, Orlando Pace. He's the left tackle, along with Newton, Grudadoria, Adam Timmerman coming over from Green Bay, and Fred Miller. The backs and receivers, Marshall Faulk, Robert Holcomb, the battery in the backfield, Isaac Bruce healthy, Terry Holt, and Roland Williams, the tight end. Gain of 2 on the last play, 2nd down, 8. Holcomb in motion out of the backfield. Warner on the slant, incomplete. Ball intended for the rookie, Torrey Holt, but Deron Jenkins right there. And Brent, they will be picking on Jenkins today.
Yeah, the Rams talked to us this week about picking on Jenkins. They think that might be the guy to go after. They were trying to get the ball early to 6th pick of the draft, Torrey Holt.
Now take a look at the Ravens defensively. Mike McCrary signed the $35 million contract earlier this week. Ray Lewis, their all-pro in the middle, along with Sharper and Peter Bulware. And in the secondary, Deron Jenkins, 25. He'll be tested the entire game. Starks on the other side. They've moved Rod Woodson to safety. He's joined by Kim Herring. 3rd down and 8. They need to get to the 37 for a 1st down. And Warner ripped down by guess who? Ray Lewis.
It didn't take much of a guess for those people that know Ray Lewis. He's been in the league a couple years. All-pro linebacker, can do things side to side, gets in some pressure right here. And we talked about blitzing this young quarterback early. Ray Lewis coming untouched. The Rams need to give Kurt Warner some time today. They're going to be able to use those weapons downfield.
A loss of 7 on the play. And there's Ray Lewis out of the University of Miami, 2-time Pro Bowler. Rick Tootin comes in, wobbly kick, angled towards the sideline, and Jermaine Lewis out out of bounds. Let's see where they spot it. And that's what they talked about. Directional punting for the St. Louis team. What's that about?
Well, you don't want to give these returners that are playing in the game today any chance to return the ball, square their shoulders, and be able to make moves. Jermaine Lewis, one of the most explosive punt returners, and so the coaches for both teams talked about kicking it outside the numbers, directional punting. Don't give the guy a chance to get his momentum going upfield.
Track the stats of your favorite players, plus New York Jets wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson is profiled in the NFL Insider Spotlight only at www.nfl.com. First down and 10 from the 28 for the Ravens. Scott Mitchell in the pocket, dumps it off, incomplete. Ball intended for Aaron Pierce. Scott Mitchell comes over from Detroit. He was traded for a third-round pick in '99 and a fifth-round pick in the year 2000. There's Scott. In 1995, Brent, he threw 32 touchdowns, over 4,000 yards. This man has a lot of ability.
Yeah, he has a lot of potential, Gus. He's got to be in the right system. Brian Billick, a quarterback-friendly coach. Scott Mitchell's got a lot of confidence right now.
The draw play, Priest Holmes met, and Priest Holmes dragged down by DeMarco Farr.
Gus, these are the situations that Baltimore can't get into. Third and long early in the game. The Rams got some great team speed on their defense. That's what they're looking to do today.
All right, let's take a look at the Ravens offensively. Jonathan Ogden, one of the best in the NFL, along with Lindsey Mitchell, Blackshear, and Harry Swain. The backs and receivers. Priest Holmes with a 1,000-yard season. Chuck Evans comes over from Minnesota. Lewis, Ismael, and Aaron Pierce, the former Giant. Third down, 11. Ravens need to get to the 38 for a first down. Mitchell steps up in the pocket and is cut down at the 20-yard line. Grant Wistrom, the former Nebraska Cornhusker first-round draft pick with his first sack of the year.
And Grant Wistrom, last year's first-round draft choice, is going to have his hands full today with Jonathan Ogden, one of the great offensive tackles in this league. And you see him give him the bull rush, goes right back. They have to switch off, and Wistrom comes up, tripping up Scott Mitchell. Does a great job of staying with it. Penetration is the key for this Ram quick front four.
Had 3 sacks last year, already with 1 today. Now Richardson sends it away. Hakeem backpedals to the 27, turns it upfield with running room, and there he goes, and tackled at the 40 by the punter, Kyle Richardson. What a great tackle by Richardson. If not, he heads into the end zone untouched.
And Gus, we just talked about directional punting, and the kicker punted it right down the middle. Hakeem gets the ball, gets a chance to square his shoulders, get momentum up the field. You see the Rams special teams with some big blocks, and Hakeem is going to want that one back. You've got to beat the punter every time. That was 6 points.
So the Rams with great field position, 33 yards reserved. Back in St. Louis, Rams with great field position, first and 10 from the 39. Marshall Faulk, and Faulk taken down at the 40. Ray Lewis got there, cleaned him up, but Mike McCrary made first contact.
It's all about penetration. McCrary, didn't play in any of the preseason.
Now tonight on CBS from director Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Ray Liotta star in Goodfellas, nominated for 6 Academy Awards. Goodfellas tonight on CBS. Make sure. Second down and 11 for the Rams. Azahir Hakeem with a great return of 33 yards. Warner, quick fire, in the seam. Marshall Faulk down to the 20-yard line. Jamie Sharper with the tackle along with Rod Woodson. But that's what he can do, Brent. He can do a little bit of everything.
We talked about that, and he is such a threat running the ball, but he is a legitimate wide receiver here in the NFL. Guys got to account for Marshall Faulk, and that messes up teams. Linebackers have to cover him. Safeties have to cover him. And that quick hitter, and that gives Kurt Warner some confidence. The ball down in scoring range, and the Rams have got to come away with touchdowns in the red zone this year. They can't kick field goals like last year.
19-yard gain for Faulk. First and 10 from the 21. Faulk the lone setback. 3-receiver package. And we'll have flags on this play. Tight end Jeff Robinson lined up in the slot. He moved. Also the wide receiver on the near side. There's Dick Vermeil, 62 years old.
False start. Number 45, moving prior to the snap. It's a 5-yard penalty. First down.
So Jeff Robinson, 7th year. There's Coach Vermeil, eternally young, like Dick Clark.
Oh, he is a young guy. Very admirable fella. Was a great help to me. This is my first game, Gus, as most people out there will figure out. And he was giving me all his sheets, all his notes from when he was in broadcasting.
15 years a broadcaster at CBS as well. First down and a long 15 from the 26. Holcomb, the motion man, draw play Funk. Cuts it, gets inside the 25-yard line. And Ray Lewis in on the tackle. And Marshall Faulk comes over from Indianapolis. You've already had a chance to see what he can do receiving the ball, but running the football, he's just as prolific. Last year against this Ravens team, he busted him up pretty well.
Yeah, he went for 192 yards on 17 carries, and he gets just as much satisfaction catching the ball out of the backfield. Not all the running backs in the NFL like to catch the ball. He is a true double threat.
Second down and a long 12. From the 23. Warner whistles on the play, and let's see. Marshall Faulk, we talked to him yesterday, and one thing that I really noticed, Brent, he was so enthusiastic about being here.
Oh, he was really up.
Number 80, offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
Isaac Bruce.
He was really up and excited about playing this year. He said the last couple years in Indianapolis, he didn't have any fun. It was just work every day. And you can look what he did last year. 1,300 yards rushing, 908 receiving yards. Unbelievable amount of total yards, but 43.5% for the total offense. That's having it all on your shoulders. He has some other weapons today to be able to help carry the load.
Isaac Bruce in motion. Warner sets up in the pocket. Batted down at the line of scrimmage. Looks like it may have been Rob Burnett that batted the ball down. He's the 10-year veteran. And Burnett getting a big paw up there and redirecting the football.
And he's lucky because we had Marshall Faulk down the middle of the field one-on-one with Peter Boulware, and he was going. And if you're a linebacker, you got to cover Marshall Faulk out of the backfield. You got a lot to deal with. That's where that ball was going, and he had a step on him.
So the Rams break it, come to the line of scrimmage. Faced with 3rd down and 17 from the 28. They need to get to the 11 for a first down. Warner steps up. Warner in trouble. Caught. Hakeem at the 20. Not enough for a first down. Gets to the 17-yard line. Tackled on the play by Corey Harris, the nickelback. And here comes the field goal unit.
That was a great job by Kurt Warner staying in against the rush. The pressure was right there. Guys were nipping at his ankles, and he hung with it, stayed up, stayed strong, got another 7 or 8 yards, and that really helps the kicker, Jeff Wilkins, get in better range.
So this will be a 35-yard attempt for Jeff Wilkins. Last year, 20 of 26 with a 57 long. Got it down. It's up. And good. 35-yarder. And the Rams strike first blood. 8:56 to go. They lead it 3-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of the Super Bowl. Budweiser, guaranteed fresh with our exclusive Born On Day. And by Honda, best on earth.
Welcome back to St. Louis. Wilkins with the 35-yard field goal. And the Rams lead it 3-0. Back deep, Qadri Ismail and Corey Harris. And this will be Harris from his own goal line. Harris almost fumbles it, still running at the 30. Turns the corner, lowers his head, gets out of bounds at midfield. Tackled by the kicker, Jeff Wilkins. A 49-yard return for Corey Harris, who led the AFC and was second in the National Football League with a 27.6 kickoff return average last year. A big one there, but flags on the play.
And Gus, it's not a good sign for you when the referee goes and lays the flag on the exact spot something happened.
We have multiple fouls. Holding 51 during the return. That penalty is declined. Holding number 44 during the return. That penalty is accepted. First down.
So 51 is Cornell Brown, 44 is Tony Vincent. And the Ravens, instead of having the ball at the 50-yard line, they're pushed all the way back to the 10. First down and 10. Ismail, the receiver, to the wide side of the field for Scott Mitchell. They hand it off. Priest Holmes. Holmes stumbling. Gets over the 15-yard line up to the 16. London Fletcher, Keith Lyle combining on the tackle.
And that's a nice game for Priest Holmes. And here's a guy that rushed for over 1,000 yards last year, but still doesn't get the respect around the league. He came in, was a starter about midseason, had some big games, and he is really a threat for that Ravens offense. And they've got to establish that running game. They can't become one-dimensional with the pass, or they're going to be in for a long day with this quick Rams defensive line.
Second down, 4. Play action. Mitchell caught. Ismail with the reception and a first down at the 26-yard line, a gain of 11. Taji Allen defensively for St. Louis. And this is a young man, Qadri Ismail. His brother is the Rocket. He's played for Brian Billick before in Minnesota.
And he really feels confident about playing with Brian Billick. He said Brian puts him in situations to be successful. Qadri's really worked on his route running, getting a lot more crisp. He's already got the speed from the Ismail family.
First down and 10 from the 27. Holmes breaks it back, stood up, driven backwards by Grant Wistrom. And Wistrom, Brent, already coming out, fired up. He's got a sack, and there's a tackle for a loss.
Yeah, there are a lot of people in the... Here's some of the guys, Gus, that follow Brian Billick, and the 4 guys at the top were guys that he brought over this year. Offensive guys, Greg DeLong, Chuck Evans, Ismail, and Everett Lindsey, all at key positions. He says players help players learn the offense. That's the best communication you have.
Second down, 12. Justin Armour, the motion man. Mitchell under pressure. Cox throws it behind Ismail, but a lot of pressure coming from that left side. Kevin Carter over there.
Kevin Carter is a force to be reckoned with. Grant Wistrom dropping into a zone blitz, and he's one of the defensive linemen dropping off into pass coverage. Had Qadri Ismail, and had Mitchell thrown that ball a little more forward, there was a lot of running room for Ismail.
So it brings up a third down and 12. Ravens need to get to the 37-yard line for first down. 3-receiver package. And a whistle. Looks like Wistrom may have jumped offside. Looking for an early look at the quarterback. Check out number 98 on the right side.
Grant Wistrom.
And now you were a tight end. What was it like to have to block guys like this? Not only are they big, but they're fast.
Well, it wasn't a whole lot of fun.
6 minutes, 57 seconds. Thank you.
Especially when they outweighed you by 30 or 40 pounds, Gus. It is a tough thing to do. Now, Jonathan Ogden isn't a tight end. He's got 330 pounds of mean up there blocking Grant Wistrom, who's only 280 pounds. Wistrom's giving him all he can handle right now, the speed and quickness, and that's what the Rams defense is predicated on. Now, they give up a lot in size and strength, but they figure they can get right by you and get to your quarterback, and a lot of team speed out in the secondary.
Brings up third down and 17. Ravens converted only 30% of their third down conversions last year. They need to get to the 37. Mitchell down the field. And it's caught. Armour with a great reception. Good enough for the first down at the 41-yard line, a gain of 22.
Big conversion, Gus, deep in your own territory. And Justin Armour runs a lot of solid routes. He was with Brian Billick when Billick was an assistant at Stanford. Justin Armour, part of that Denver Broncos receiving corps last year, makes a great catch, keeps his feet in bound, lowers his shoulder. Brian Billick has a lot of confidence in him. He's that big 6'4.5" wide receiver, runs solid routes, great possession receiver over the middle.
Here's a guy that made the team on the last preseason game of the year against the Giants. Mitchell rolls out, and this time he drops the ball. Armour had it in his hands. Ravens. Chasing him, Keith Lyle. But Brian Billick likes him because he's a big, tall, rangy kind of receiver.
And you've got to have that. And Brian Billick talked about the different styles of receivers they have. They have guys that can stretch it vertically. Ismael and Jermaine Lewis. They got guys that can run solid routes, be more of the possession types like Justin Armour. So this offense has all these different types of wide receivers, but each of these guys need to establish themselves as guys that can do it all.
Second down 10 from the 42. Safeties back off for the Rams. Priest Holmes busts a big one down to the 40-yard line.
And we
Taji Allen with the tackle, but it's a gain of 18 for Priest Holmes.
And we said you better give Priest Holmes respect. You better respect a 1,000-yard rusher. And you see a big hole created right there in the middle of the line, and there was no Rams linebackers there, caught out of position. And we talked about that Ravens offensive line and how big they are going against the smaller Rams defensive line.
They average 306 pounds. The toss. Holmes again with the block down the sidelines. And he tiptoes out of bounds at the 30. And that's the big difference. 306 pounds the Ravens offense averages. The Big Birds.
I mean, we are talking about some big birds here. 307.6 pounds. That is bringing some heat. And that's probably not that much bigger than most offensive lines in the league nowadays. But when you compare that to the Rams defense, there's a big disparity.
10th play of the drive for the Ravens. Started at their own 10-yard line. Here's an option. Mitchell blocking. Holmes taken down at the 25. Tackled by Todd Collins and Keith Lyle. Flag on the play.
Qadri Ismail got up being a little frustrated. It looks like they threw the flag in the vicinity of holding. And as a receiver, you can't afford to hold, especially when your team's driving down. That's one thing coaches won't stand for.
Now, you talked about the size of the Ravens offensive line. Look at these guys.
And you talk about fat free, 278 pounds. And like we said, this defense is predicated on light, quick linemen. All these guys can get to the quarterback. But when you're talking about a smash mouth running game, they can be engulfed by these big offensive linemen from the Baltimore Ravens.
So a holding penalty against the Ravens sends them back to the 35-yard line. Second down, 6. Mitchell down the sideline for Stokely. Incomplete. Threw that one into double coverage.
Brandon Stokely, the 4th-round draft choice out of Southwest Louisiana State. He's going against a 9-year veteran in Todd Light. If you're going to throw the ball to the rookie, you don't want to pick on the veteran the very first chance you get.
Todd Light has started 81 straight games. 9th year out of Notre Dame, 30 years old. Drafted in the 1st round in 1991. We had a chance to talk to his dad yesterday. William, former police chief in Flint, Michigan. He was excited about watching his son play today. 3rd down, 6. Mitchell, short drop, underneath, incomplete.
A lot of pressure. That Rams defense got to him. 3-step drop. As an offensive line, you've got to step out and block those guys now. You can't let them get into you. And Grant Wistrom and Jonathan Ogden are getting into a little beef. And I don't blame Jonathan Ogden for being frustrated because right now Grant Wistrom is handling the big guy.
Brings on Matt Stover. Scott Mitchell talking to his head coach, Brian Billick, and Stover into attempt a 54-yarder. 21 of 28 last year.
He was knocking them dead from here in pregame warm-ups.
Got it away. And it hits the upright.
Well, Gussie definitely had the distance, and he was kicking it really strong in practice, and that would have been a great one to have under his belt. Just catches the upright.
Back to St. Louis after this. St. Louis leads it 3-0. What are they looking at there, Brent?
They're taking pictures upstairs, Gus, and shuttle them down to the field of the different defensive fronts and the alignment so that the offensive line can get an idea of how these guys are lining up, what they're doing, what gaps they're shooting through. It's a great tool to have when you're down there sitting and huffing and puffing.
Modern technology, even on the sideline. There's Grudadoria.
You know, I expect Isaac Bruce to get into the fold here pretty soon, Gus. And Mike Martz, the offensive coordinator who came over from the Redskins, talked about not parking your Ferraris in the garage. And he's got a couple of Ferraris on the offensive side of the ball. And thus far, they've been a little conservative other than the toss to Marshall Faulk. And you might see him try to go up top with either Torrey Holt or Isaac Bruce.
We are waiting for the referees to fix their microphones. In the meantime, coming up next, it's the U.S. Open men's final. Number 2 seed Andre Agassi tries to win his second U.S. Open against Todd Martin. That's coming up next on CBS Sports. And what a great day yesterday on the women's side with Serena Williams defeating Martina Hingis. And you kind of feel bad for Martina Hingis. A tough match to beat Venus. Then she comes back the next day and has to play her kid sister. No gas in the tank, and Serena wins the U.S. Open.
Well, it's tough to have to plow through two sisters.
Oh.
Second one got her.
Got her.
Who do you like in the men's final?
Actually, I like Todd Martin.
I like Todd Martin, too.
I do like Todd Martin.
I'm out there on the line with you.
Okay.
You know I know a lot about tennis.
yeah. So a momentary stop in the action. 3-0, St. Louis leading Baltimore on a 35-yard field goal by Jeff Wilkins. Now we're getting ready to get going. First down and 10 for the Rams from their own 44-yard line. Out of the I formation, Holcomb, Faulk in the backfield. There's Holcomb in motion. And a whistle. See if that mic works.
False start. The right tackle. 5-yard penalty. Moving prior to the snap. First down.
You know, right about now, Gus, Dick Vermeil has got to be very frustrated. That first drive, they had a couple of motion penalties down there in the red zone. Third false start. And 1, maybe 2, okay, 3. Don't even think about it. Don't even come back to the sideline and look at the coach. You walk with your head down.
Fred Miller, the right tackle. First down at 15. Kurt Warner from the 39. Warner steps into it. Caught. Isaac Bruce at the 40. And they love to see that guy do that kind of stuff here in St. Louis. Gain of 22. Isaac Bruce, a healthy Isaac Bruce in the lineup for this Rams squad.
We're getting the Bruce call, and you're going to see him come across on a crossing route here, set it up, come right across the middle of the field flat, the zone coverage. They had a couple crossing routes going the other way. Isaac Bruce getting up the field and making something happen.
And look at the numbers. When he's healthy, he puts up Jerry Rice-like numbers, but the last 2 years he's only played 15 games, only 5 last season because of the tender hamstring.
And I asked him if he could get back to the glory years, and he said, I don't think so. I know so.
First and 10 from the 40, underneath again. And it's Isaac Bruce.
And it looks like he does know so.
Yes, he does. Isaac knows. Gain of 13. And when we talk to the Rams, Brent, they talk about all this explosiveness on offense.
Well, you got to, when you're playing the Rams now, you got to figure out, who do I cover? Do I cover Torrey Holt? Do I cover Isaac Bruce? Do I cover Azahir Hakeem? Do I cover Marshall Faulk? There is so many things coming at you from a defensive standpoint. And Mike Martz, the offensive coordinator, has all these shifts, motions. You don't know if you're coming or going out there on defense.
Mike Martz comes over from the Washington Redskins. The new offensive coordinator. Draw play. Marshall Faulk looking to get outside, but unable to do it. Corey Harris coming up from the safety spot to make the tackle. There's Mike Martz in the booth, formerly an assistant here in St. Louis. Along with Rich Brooks, comes back, and they are really excited about what he has to offer, Brent.
They really are, and Kurt Warner really feels comfortable with him. And Mike Martz said they are not shutting down the offensive playbook at all. They've got it all in for Kurt Warner. There's a lot of confidence. They're not pulling back at all. They're going to go downfield and make some things happen.
Warner, 3 of 5 so far, 50 yards. Straight drop, delivers, knocked away at the last moment by the Woodson. And an interesting story this year on Woodson, Brent. He moved from cornerback, where he's played for 12 glorious years, and now he's a safety.
And I'm friends with him, and I was afraid to even ask him last night what he felt like moving back to safety, and he said, I don't even want to play corner anymore. I was kind of shocked. He said, hey, I played my years there. I'm going back to safety. It's a different thing for me. Look at all these things that he's done over the years. He is a guy that is going into the Hall of Fame 5 years after the day he announces his retirement.
On the 75th anniversary team, 3rd and 9, they need to get to the 17. Warner under pressure, dances out of the pocket underneath. Hakeem with the catch and a first down. Oz, they call it. Gain of 10.
How about Kurt Warner, Gus, eluding the pressure, stepping up, and then out of the pocket, making something happen. Don't just stand there and be a sitting duck. Get up, move. Rob Burnett with some pressure, make some things happen, and don't run the ball. When you're a quarterback and you get out of the pocket, your receivers are all over the place. That's when big plays happen. Kurt Warner knows that. He doesn't want to run for 3 or 4 more yards. He wants to make something happen. And this guy, Hakeem, right there, 178 pounds. He's so small, you can't even find him out on the field. He's got some...
First down. Marshall Faulk trying to change directions and goes down. Fernando Smith, the former Minnesota Viking, with the tackle.
Fernando Smith getting some great penetration, and he got it so quickly. Marshall Faulk was trying to change direction before he even received the handoff, and that's why his feet slid out from under him.
And Kurt Warner, so far, very nice job staying within himself. Very
impressed with the young man, and when we sat down with him, he exuded tremendous confidence. He's got the pressure of the world. Everybody's saying the Rams aren't going to be a good team now, and he feels, as do the coaches and the team, that they are going to still be a force to be reckoned with this year.
Second down and 13. Hakeem, the motion man. Warner finds out to here, and he gets to the 11. Ray Lewis with the tackle, but it's a gain of 8. And they really spread you out with this offense, Brent.
And they really do. And Mike Marsh talked about that. You're going to see Azahir Hakeem come out with a little delay route. He runs out into the flat and then comes back underneath. Catches Dwayne Starks thinking an out route. A lot of room in there to run. The floodgates are open on this Ravens defense if you don't get pressure on Warner. Orlando Pace, so far, handling Mike McCrary. Mike McCrary's got some fresh legs, but he hasn't played in the game yet. That could be having an effect on him thus far, Gus.
Third down and 5 from the 11. They need to get to the 6 for first. Empty backfield for the Rams. Pump fake. Warner intercepted. Ray Lewis. And he's got to beat the quarterback down the sidelines. Cuts it in. Lewis still running. Ray Lewis all the way down inside the 35. And Kurt Warner finally makes a mistake.
Boy, and for a while there, Gus, I didn't think he was going to make one. He went with a double pump. They're trying to make a double move. And Ray Lewis, a young, aggressive guy, that's the kind of guy you can do a double move to, but not this guy. He's been all over the field thus far. You're going to see Warner pump, but no, Ray Lewis steps right up. Incidental contact, he was going for the ball as well as the receiver. It's not pass interference, and Ray Lewis was off to the races. You see the pump, try to get a little misdirection going, and he's gone.
Down the sidelines. Warner did a good job to at least hold him up and wait for Ricky Kroll to come back and tackle him. But Ray Lewis changes the momentum of this game with the interception. Ravens with the ball at the Rams 33, trailing by 3 points. Scott Mitchell down the seam for Stokely, in the air, incomplete. Threw it into double coverage. Todd Light as well as Keith Lyle sitting on the play.
Now, those are some of the things in the past couple of years that Scott Mitchell's been criticized for. He's a sharp guy, he's intelligent, he's getting a good feel for this offense, but he forces it into double coverage right there, trying to throw to a rookie receiver. The Rams are all over that. You can't throw into double coverage. Scott Mitchell has been having a solid preseason. He feels comfortable. He's got to pull back on that throw and hit somebody underneath.
Kurt Warner already with an interception. Second attempt. The pitch. Holmes. Stutter steps. Gets outside and is knocked out of bounds at about the 29. Mike Jones, the linebacker, with the tackle.
Now, Gus, we talk about little things making an important impact on the game. And Ricky Kroll, you saw in that interception by Ray Lewis, got knocked down. And he came back, ran all the way 70 yards downfield, and was the guy responsible from keeping Ray Lewis to getting into the end zone. Little things.
And that's the end of the first quarter with the score. St. Louis leads at 3-0. We'll return to the Trans World Dome right after this message.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Agilent Technologies, dreams made real, and by Blue from American Express.
Third down and 6 for the Ravens from the 29. They need to get to the 24 for a first down. Mitchell in trouble. Mitchell still on his feet, dumps it up, picked up. Todd Light laterals. And watch this. Down the sidelines, Taji Allen. And the Rams are in business. 34-yard return. What a heads-up play by the 9-year veteran.
And when you talk about heads up, you talk about Todd Light, Gus. The guy's been out there on the corner for 9 years, making things happen. Heck of a pitch to Taji Allen. And here's a guy that just has game savvy. And he hasn't been recognized for the Pro Bowl. It's because he's played in St. Louis and Los Angeles prior to that, and they have not had a winning record in the 90s. So he's not getting a lot of publicity, but look at that savvy. Sees Taji Allen out there who's ready for the pitch, gives him an extra 30, 35 yards down the field.
So the Rams with the interception leading its Welcome back. Scott Mitchell throwing an interception. St. Louis leads it 3-0. Also on that last play, Jonathan Ogden got hurt, the great left tackle. He's number 75. Watch him.
Yeah, we see him get it. And he went off the field holding his hip, limping pretty gingerly on it, and that's going to be a big, big loss if he's out of that Ravens offense. You see him hit the ground right there. That does not feel good.
Rams at the Ravens 41-yard line. Warner, pump fake, going for the home run. Flag on the play. This will be pass interference against Dwayne Starks holding up Isaac Bruce.
Dwayne Starks patted Isaac Bruce after the ball landed on the ground, said, "I got you, buddy." I think he just tackled him. Went for that double move. You saw that pump fake. And Dwayne Starks is a guy that jumps routes. And when you jump routes as a cornerback, you're going to get some double moves.
Pass interference, number 26, defense. That's a first down.
Well, they say it's Rod Woodson.
Yeah, I would beg to differ with that.
I believe it was Starks on that left side, the left corner.
Just tackled him. And that's what they're told. Corners are told to do. If a guy beats you on a double move and there's nobody back there helping you, you got to tackle the guy. Otherwise, it's a touchdown.
Rams at the 25 now. Falk, big opening. Gets through the hole with running room. Marshall Falk knocked out of bounds at the 6.
Great job by Marshall Falk. And he made that happen himself. The strong safety, Kim Herring, was coming up, attacking the line of scrimmage. And Marshall Falk gives him a little shake and bake right there. Boom, had him. Kim Herring needs to make that play because there's nobody home. You can't let Marshall Falk loose into your secondary. Big play down the sideline.
Marshall Falk, Pro Bowl last season.
Man, was he pumped up to play today.
No question about it.
He was grinning from ear to ear.
Rams knocking on the door. First down. At the 7. Falk again. And Falk tackled from behind by Rob Burnett. He gets close to the 5-yard line.
You know, very impressed thus far, Gus, with Kurt Warner. And we did mention that we spent some time with him. He's got some confidence. But he's been successful on every level that he's been on. He threw 183 touchdowns in the Arena League. He led NFL Europe in passing in '98. The guy's had success. He just hasn't had a chance in the National Football League.
And Scott Mitchell can only sit on the bench and hope to get another chance quickly and hope for this Rams team to come up empty down inside the red zone. Warner into the corner. Touchdown. Roland Williams.
Well, Gus, two things very noticeable about that play. One, we saw it the other day in practice. They ran about 4 times for a touchdown, little play action. The other thing, the Rams have been jumping offside, so they went with the quick count. And you're worried about all these huge weapons, and a big weapon, Roland Williams, the tight end, getting loose into the corner. That play action freezes those guys just for a second. Great catch by the big man.
Extra point is good. Roland Williams, second-year man out of Syracuse. And Warner, 6 of 10, 74 yards, his first NFL touchdown. Kurt Warner to Roland Williams gives St. Louis a 10-6 lead, and there's something you don't want to see. Jonathan Ogden, the Pro Bowl left tackle, being carted off the field. We'll update you on his status when we know something. Corey Harris from the 6-yard line. Harris up to the 25 and goes down. Special teams tackle made by Kaji Allen, a return of 17 yards. 13-19 to go, and the Rams lead it 10-0. Rams lead the Ravens 10-0. And the Ravens with the football at the 26-yard line. Play action, Mitchell down the field. Caught, great reception by Aaron Pierce. And Scott Mitchell knows this is a golden opportunity to play quarterback in Baltimore.
The next minute you're not, and I don't think that's really a true reflection of the player. I just think it's more the circumstances that they're in. I have every confidence that I can do this job and be effective in this league, and I just think it's a matter of getting in the right situation and being there at the right time.
And you know, Gus, Scott Mitchell's going to have an opportunity to be successful this year. He was pulled early last year in place of Charlie Batch, and that was a tough situation for him. And I know that he hasn't been stellar thus far in this game. He's got to learn to hold the ball when things aren't there. But I think that Brian Billick's going to stick with him, give him more of an opportunity this year, and he's going to make some things happen because there's too much talent there. And he felt a lot of confidence. He's just got to know when to hang on to that ball.
Has challenged the ruling on the field if the pass is incomplete at the sideline.
Now we get our first opportunity to see instant replay. Here's another look at the play. Aaron Pierce, the receiver.
And what they're going to say, Gus, is he was in possession of the ball at the time that the ball hit the ground. You've got to have your arms or your hands underneath. If you catch the ball and then trap it on the ground, it's not a catch. And he actually has, that should be a catch. He has both feet down. He has possession. The ball hits the ground. Should be a catch. I agree with you.
Now there's the replay booth. That's where they cut up the play. The official is on the sideline at the replay monitor. And what happens is this. He has 90 seconds to look at the monitor and make a decision.
Now he's got the ball right there, 1-2. Then he lands, Gus. No-brainer. Good challenge. And, in this challenge system, you have to wonder if Brian Billick doesn't have coaches up there, and all head coaches up there looking at the replays and saying, hey, challenge, hey, don't challenge, trying to get a little jump on the system.
Now there's the official, 90 seconds. The replay comes on, 90 seconds later, it goes black. And there is replay time and elapsed time, and that's something they've also been talking about in the NFL, trying to make this system more efficient. And it worked really well during the preseason. I had a chance to call a number of Ravens games, and the average elapsed time, which was the total time from when the man went to the replay, was about a minute 45 seconds to 2 minutes.
As the receiver is going down, not controlled, the ball hits the ground, pass is incomplete. Baltimore is charged with a timeout.
Well, they thought that he was not in possession of that ball when his 2 feet hit, and I would beg to differ with that replay. And it's at what point do you think he's juggling it?
Play stands, Baltimore.
So the Ravens faced with 2nd and 10.
Let's give it one more shot, Gus. That's where the ball hits.
I don't know. Mitchell, here comes a underneath, caught. Ismail with the reception and a gain of 12, first down. Tajee Allen with the tackle.
Well, it's nice for them to move those chains. That makes that play inconsequential, other than the fact that they have to lose a timeout.
So Ismail played last year in New Orleans, inactive for a number of games for Mike Ditka. New life here in Baltimore. Priest Holmes breaks it back. Holmes goes down. Kevin Carter, number 93 with the tackle. And a new left tackle for the Ravens, Jonathan Ogden in the locker room. Spencer Falau, number 71, comes on.
Now, Gus, as a former player, I've got to do my scouting reports on these guys, so I'll tell you about Spencer Falau in a minute.
Don't forget the NASDAQ halftime report. Jim Nance, Craig James, Randy Cross, and Jerry Glanville. Scores and highlights, plus the U.S. Open men's final. Priest Holmes bursting it up to the 45.
Holmes and Walker here. Tackled by 41.
Todd Light with the tackle. It's a gain of 7. So far, Priest Holmes, Brent, doing a nice job running the daylight.
Making some things happen, and he ran right into his receiver blocking downfield trying to cut back, but had he cut back, there was some open running room right there.
Holmes, 8 carries, 40 yards. Makes it 3rd down and 3. Ball spotted at the 45. Big play here. Mitchell sprints out. Incomplete. Stokely fell down. He was the intended receiver, and the Ravens have to punt it away.
Yeah, that was not Scott Mitchell's fault. That was the receiver there, Brandon Stokely, rookie. And he's just running a little sideline route, trying to get that first down, and just tripped up over that turf and fell down. The ball was already on its way.
Stokely, 3 1,000-yard seasons at Southwestern Louisiana. And that brings on the punter, Kyle Richardson.
And the guy that's really got a job to worry about right now is Spencer Falau, replacing Jonathan Ogden. Grant Wistrom was really putting Ogden to the test. Spencer Falau is going to have his hands full the rest of this afternoon.
Richardson. Hakeem returned 133 yards the last time. Fair catch signal. And it's caught at the 18-yard line. 37-yard punt, no return. 11-12 to go, second quarter. 10-0 St. Louis.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. The U.S. Navy. Let the journey begin. And by Original Cools. Expect more from an original. The NFL on CBS is sponsored by
Dome, downtown St. Louis. Rams lead it 10-0. This Rams team 4-12 a season ago. Looking very strong early. Play action Warner. Near side, caught Torrey Holt, turns down the sidelines, and he stepped out of bounds at the 26. But they're excited about this young man out of North Carolina State, 6th overall pick. A gain of 8.
They were giving Randy Moss accolades to this guy yesterday. They were saying he's an old rookie. He runs routes and is so solid. Look at that move. Turn inside, go back out, and he fakes that defensive back right out of his shoes. And here's a guy they said is going to be a dominant receiver in the NFL for a long time. Not starting in a couple years, starting now.
The 1999 ACC Player of the Year, had 31 touchdowns in college. He hails from Gibsonville, North Carolina, 15 miles outside of Greensboro. Warner sets up on the backside to screen. Roland Williams needs one block, gets it, and to the 35-yard line. Gain of 10. Jamie Sharper with the hit. But a flag on the play.
Jamie Sharper doing a good job.
Somebody may have gotten downfield too soon.
You know, it looked like Isaac Bruce might have come in and cut below the waist. And that's what it looks like. You can't come from outside, Gus, and shot block. You got to be within the box, line of scrimmage, 2 yards outside in the tight end positions, the tackles. So you can't come in and cut a guy from outside, and I think that's what Isaac Bruce did. Maybe not on purpose. That's what happened.
Personal foul. Cracked number 80, offense. That's a 15-yard penalty. Still second down.
Tom White, your referee.
And you're going to see Isaac Bruce come in there, right here, and just get a piece of him right at the end there. And that's great hustle. Hey, you can't get mad at a guy for hustling. You just got to know not to get that low and cut him. You got to take him up top.
Second down, 13 yards to go. Bruce, the motion man. Warner sprinting out. Sets up, steps up, delivers, and it's caught at the 25-yard line. Isaac Bruce once again.
And how about that savvy by Kurt Warner? He rolls out. He looked pretty nimble out there. A little better than I thought. Sidesteps the rush. Going to get outside the pocket, and that's a great job. Move the pocket around. Make sure the Ravens can't get you. Just standing back there. Look at that stop step, stutter step. Sidesteps the rush. Takes a hit, but it's complete.
And this young man, Kurt Warner, he played in the Arena League in Iowa, and some interesting names in this league.
That's right. Hey, I know the Iowa Barnstormers.
Marshall Faulk running outside, stumbles ahead to the 30-yard line. Ray Lewis with the tackle.
I'll give you the Barnstormers, but I want you to come up with another one.
I have no idea. Portland, take a guess. What are these guys called?
Hey, how about some Forest Dragons, Red Dogs?
There you go.
Hey, what's a Thunder Bear?
Thunder Bears, I have no idea.
You have one of those sitting on your pillow in your bed at home?
I just want to know what a Red Dog is in New Jersey.
That's a blitz. How about a Forest Dragon as opposed to a City Dragon?
That's it, exactly. First down and 10 for the Rams from the 30. Warner sidesteps underneath, caught with the grab, out of bounds at the 31-yard line. He dragged across the field, and look at the composure from Kurt Warner.
I am just shocked at how cool he is back there, and it's going to all come back anyway, Gus. We got a holding penalty against the Rams. And that was a thing of beauty, and that's a thing that the people of St. Louis have not seen for an awful long time. And we're in the show me state. They don't want to hear about it in the paper.
That's right.
They want you to show them.
Holding, number 25, offense, it's a 10-yard penalty, first down.
Robert Holcomb, the fullback. He is a converted tailback, moved to fullback this season.
And you know, coaches understand linemen holding every once in a while. And number 25 here, Robert Holcomb, you don't need to do that. Just block the guy. You can't have your hands around his back. You saw him have his hands around his back and push him down. The officials this year are going to be much more aggressive calling holding when you're outside the framework of the body. You got to have your hands inside. They'll let you get him outside for an initial instant, but you got to redirect him back inside. Robert Holcomb, he knows better than that. He can take the guy on upstairs, block him. He didn't have to get that arm around. Big play, has to come all the way back.
37-yard gain for nothing. And now the Rams with the football at their own 20. Up the screen, Faulk, and Ray Lewis traps him and brings him down.
You know, the story of this game for Baltimore is Ray Lewis, and you can stop right there. The guy has made everything happen. He's had quarterback sacks, quarterback pressures, making big plays, tackling people, sniffing out the screen, interception return. Maybe they should put him on offense.
What a tremendous football player. And ironically, coming out of the University of Miami, they said that he could possibly be a little too small to play middle linebacker in the NFL.
Well, I think he's answered that question right off the top.
Yes, he has. Second down and 23. Underneath, Faulk picked up. This is a live football. Picked up by Chris McAllister. Breaks it back. No flags on the play, and he stumbles at the 5.
Oh, my.
The rookie from Arizona stumbles at the 5-yard line. Nobody was there to touch him.
One heck of a reaction. He might have caught the back of his lead blocker's shoe, because I don't think he would have just tripped on the turf, and he's laughing about it right there. But the first-round pick out of Arizona, super aggressive, 6'1", 4.4 speed, and what a reaction on this ball. It was tipped. It went right through Marshall Faulk's hands, and McAllister wasn't even covering him. Look at that one-handed snag. Well, that looks like somebody I used to know. Little juke, little shake, cuts all the way back across field. Let's see if he trips over his own lead blocker's front step. Boom, right there. Just caught the back of his legs, crossed his foot to kick his ankle, and went down. He's going to take abuse for that one.
First down and goal from the 6. Chuck Evans, the fullback, pounding ahead, gets inside the 5-yard line.
You know, Gus, I am not afraid or embarrassed to say that I play fantasy football. And for my defense this year, I picked the Baltimore Ravens. And guys that I was there at the stadium with were laughing until Ronnie Lott stood up and said, hey, that's a great pick. And my theory was this Ravens defense has a new word for you, scoreability.
Scoreability.
And that was my point right there.
They have scoreability. And right now the offense looking for scoreability. Second and goal from the 4. Mitchell, play fake. Mitchell in the end zone. Incomplete. No flags on the play. Ball intended for Jermaine Lewis, but Tajee Allen right in his hip pocket.
You know, they thought they could pick on Tajee Allen, and he's played some tight coverage thus far. Great job there on Jermaine Lewis. Scott Mitchell put that ball outside where either Jermaine Lewis was going to get it or nobody. That's not forcing the ball. That's just making a smart throw.
And last year, Brian Billick's Minnesota team, renowned for their ability to score points inside the 20. Ravens need a touchdown here. Mitchell rolls out. Mitchell buying time, and Mitchell goes down. Todd Light, Keith Lyle.
You know, we talked about the speed of this Rams defense, and for a moment there, I thought Scott Mitchell had a running lane, and he thought so too. You see him with the bootleg here come out. His receivers are covered. He's thinking run all the way. Then right there, he said, whoop, these guys are a little faster than I thought they were.
Brings on Stover. Todd Light, nice play to come up and defend the run. 25-yard field goal attempt by Matt Stover. Missed a 54-yarder. And it's good. So the Ravens get on the board. 6 minutes to go, second quarter of play. They trail it 10-3. 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. Rams lead the Ravens 10-3. Don't forget, coming up at halftime, Jim Nantz, Greg James, Randy Cross, and Jerry Glanville, the coach, with the NASDAQ halftime report, scores and highlights, plus a preview of the men's final at the U.S. Open. Tony Horn from the 4. Looking to get outside. Strung out nicely by Deron Jenkins, and he tiptoes out of bounds at the 16. 5 minutes, 49 seconds remaining in the second quarter of play. 10-3 Rams.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the NASDAQ Stock Market.
Football season is here. Get a complete and in-depth look inside the NFL with team-by-team breakdowns and Week 1 recaps. When you've got to know more on the NFL, log on to cbs.sportsline.com. Gus Johnson, Brent Jones with you from the Trans World Dome in St. Louis. Kurt Warner, look at the positive numbers. 10 of 15. He's thrown 2 interceptions, one of them not his fault. Here's the pitch. Marshall Faulk. And he scampers through the hole. Tackled on the play by Lionel Dalton and Tony Siragusa.
Tackled by Siragusa.
If you have been watching CBS Primetime, look what you've been missing.
Yeah, yeah, and you drop that gorgeous. Yeah, yeah, and you drop that gorgeous.
We've come a long way, baby.
I see why CBS is the #1 network nowadays. The women of CBS. 10-3. St. Louis. 5:06 to go in the second quarter. Warner underneath to the tight end, and it's caught. Chad Lewis second year out of BYU, gain of 12, and he plays and looks like you used to look when you were a 49er.
I've been hearing about Chad Lewis for 4 years. When he was at BYU, my roommate was Steve Young. He said, we've got to have this guy on the team. And he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, great receiving tight end, and I don't know why they didn't hang on to him. They need somebody that can catch the ball. Got to come a little ways, though, in his blocking, but that's okay. And this is part of this Rams arsenal. You people are saying, hey, who's Chad Lewis? Who's Roland Williams? Who are these guys?
First down from the 31. Broken play, Marshall Faulk. And Faulk up to the 35-yard line. Now, I said that was a broken play. Was that a broken play, or was that a design play? It looked like he was going the wrong way.
He used to run that one out in the streets of Detroit, the shovel pass. It was a little misdirection. They throw that shovel pass underneath. It's almost like a counter play. You got the lineman pulling, and you make some things happen. 6-yard game, you take it. You know what that is for Marshall Faulk? A little pass completion. Same with Kurt Warner.
No question about it. So the Rams now trying to put together a drive, closing moments of the second quarter. Second down 5 from the 36. Robinson, the motion man. Hand off Robert Holcomb. And Holcomb puts his head down and runs right through Kim Herring. A gain of 7. First down, St. Louis.
And that's one of the things that you have in the Rams backfield with Robert Holcomb. He hits the hole hard. He keeps those legs turning. His lower body is so strong. And you're worried about Marshall Faulk. You're worried about Isaac Bruce. Look at this guy get up there. Boom! Take on the strong safety. Drive him back 3 or 4 yards. And Kim Herring, you better have your pads low, because if your pads are above his, he's going to knock you back.
Robert Holcomb played tailback for this team last year. Came into camp 10 pounds heavier. He knew he had a great opportunity at fullback this season with the addition of Marshall Faulk. And look, a little talking going on the defensive line. Fred Miller, that's number 73, and he's going at it with Scary McCrary, they call him, who just signed a big-time contract, $35 million for 5 years, with a 12 1/4, as he told me, signing bonus.
That is scary. And you know what? A guy like that has earned it. He was a 7th-round draft pick. He's not supposed to be making $35 million, and he knows it, but he's earned it. A lot of sacks, a lot of pressure.
We have no false start on the play. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Disconcerting signals. Number 90 on the defense. That's a 15-yard penalty. First down.
Now, number 90 is Rob Burnett.
Now, I can only guess what disconcerting signals are, Gus, because I've been down there on the field, but they don't want the defensive guys shouting out, hut, hut, hut. That's not okay. That's illegal to do. Only the quarterback can do that, and defensive players, some sneaky ones, every once in a while, try to drop the old disconcerting signals on you, and your offense jumps. So it might have worked earlier in the game, and they got away with it, and that's my best guess, because I hadn't heard that call before.
Meanwhile, the Jets leading New England, Doug Flutie and Buffalo down at Indianapolis. Oakland leading at Green Bay. First down and 10 for the Rams from the 42. Warner, deep drop underneath, and Faulk with the catch, wrapped up quickly by Ray Lewis.
Guess who? Ray Lewis, and he was right there. And Kurt Warner's lucky he didn't take one more second to throw that, because Ray Lewis was going to step in front of Marshall Faulk and intercept those screen passes.
What makes a guy like Ray Lewis such a good player? Well, he's 6'1", 240.
He's got such amazing intensity and a great motor. You hear coaches around the league all the time talk about a great motor. He's going 100% every play, doesn't take plays off.
The numbers last year led the team in tackles, 3 sacks, 2 picks.
That's a pretty big opening day for the young linebacker.
And we're at the 2-minute warning. Rams up 10-3. 10-3, St. Louis leads Baltimore 2 minutes to go here in the second quarter of play. Kurt Warner stepping to the line of scrimmage with the ball at the 45-yard line. Isaac Bruce in motion. Warner in the seam. Marshall Faulk inside the 30. Big gain for Faulk. Gus Johnson, Brent Jones. Look at these numbers on Kurt Warner. Prior to that pass, 13 of 18, 120 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but he is really getting the job done.
And one of those interceptions was not his fault, and he is getting the job done, and he's really staying calm out there. And like he told us, I got a lot of weapons. I don't need to be nervous.
Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. Warner again to the sideline, this time to his tight end. Roland Williams wrapped up and ushered out of bounds by Rod Woodson. But look who he's hit. Flag on the play. He's hit his tight end. He's hit both of his receivers. He's hit his tailback out of the backfield. Already 4 or 5 receivers he's found.
Holding, number 62. Offense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Adam Timmerman, who they say is the heart and soul of this offensive line, coming over from Green Bay.
You look at the middle of the screen, you'll see him get his hands outside here on his back. Just takedown, and he is described as a vicious guard.
Yes, he is.
Now, you talk about a country guy. He took his signing bonus and bought a John Deere Cedar. What the heck? A John Deere 750. Is that what you do with your signing bonus?
What is that? I'm from tractor or something?
I'm from California. I don't know what that is.
First down and a long 20 from the 38. Hakeem. To the 20. Ray Lewis tracked him down from behind. Shovel pass once again. Good enough for 17 yards.
Well, I haven't seen that shovel pass to the wide receiver. You get Hakeem's got to be coming in motion or in tight. He's coming in motion across the formation, gets the ball, and you talk about a guy getting upfield with some speed. There's a lot of places to run, and Mike Martz has done a great job coming in, spreading formations, different personnel, different people, moving all over the place, confusing this Baltimore defense.
4 catches, 46 yards for Hakeem. Ryan Billick can only look on. Rams threatening again. Kurt Warner drops back, looks in the end zone. Hakeem and Azahir Hakeem had a step, but Warner unable to put that one on him.
Hakeem lined up in the slot, had one-on-one coverage down the middle, 2 deep type of coverage there. He had man, no safety on top. Warner says to himself, hey, I've got a touchdown right here. Just put a little too much juice on it. He's getting ready to celebrate right there. Dang, missed that one.
So Oz steps off the field. So many weapons on this St. Louis squad.
When St. Louis brought in Al Saunders, who's one heck of a receivers coach, and he has his barn full of Ferraris.
So Warner goes over to the sideline.
Over the years, a lot of businesses put their names on one line trust. One that's overall.
Next week, another big lineup set here on CBS. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Oakland at Minnesota. Others will see the Denver Broncos take on the Kansas City Chiefs. The NFL on CBS next Sunday doubleheader. It all begins with the NFL Today, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Jim, Craig, Jerry, Randy, all those guys.
Tell you what, Jim Nance has his hands full this year. With those
yes,
guys.
he does.
He can do it. If anybody can do it, Jim can. And they shouldn't be falling asleep in St. Louis yet. Rams are about to score.
Warner underneath. Ricky Kroll down to the 9. Ray Lewis with the tackle.
And Gus, we got another guy, Ricky Kroll, who we hadn't even talked about. Now here's a guy, 7 out of his 9 seasons in the NFL has caught 50 passes. Is Ricky Kroll a household name? I don't think so, but that is called making it happen on game day. Super smart zone receiver, finds the holes. Kurt Warner feels him in there, and Kurt Warner has so many options in this offense. And I'm a guy that played against the Rams for 11 years, twice a year, and I have never seen movement and weapons like they have here. And there is a little excitement, I think, here in St. Louis. And like I said before, we're in the show me state. They don't want to hear about it. Those guys are being shown some action right there.
So Warner already, he's hit Torrey Holt, Azahir Hakeem, Roland Williams, Isaac Bruce, Ricky Kroll, and Marshall Faulk. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 receivers already. Make it 6 receivers. No, 5 receivers already.
And when you do it to a defense that has to prepare to play you, how do they know who to cover? How do they know what plays to work on? You're confused all week long preparing for this Rams team.
Defense shifting for the Ravens. Warner underneath. Isaac Bruce snakes down to the 2. Gain of 7.
Rams going with that hurry-up offense, trying to catch the Ravens here off guard.
And he spikes it and kills the clock.
I thought they were calling the play. Usually you have a signal to spike the ball, and I thought they were going to go ahead and run that fade route. They talked about that earlier this week, getting up to the line of scrimmage and running the fade when you think you're going to spike the ball. I guess they set me up for that one. I fell for it. That's a great time to go ahead and run that fade route, Gus. Everybody thinks you're going to throw the ball down, and you just throw a little deke at them and throw the ball in the end zone, and I thought that's what was coming.
St. Louis with no timeouts remaining.
That prior play, you think that a mismatched Cornell Brown covering Isaac Bruce, linebacker on Isaac Bruce.
And last year, just a tough year offensively for St. Louis. Warner again in the end zone. Touchdown!
Well,
Bruce! The St. Louis Rams have a loaded gun.
Dick Vermeil said they were going to make Rod Woodson cover the field. They have a lot of respect for him at corner, but he hasn't seen many plays at safety. Isaac Bruce coming across right here in the back of the end zone. That's a tough one. Rod Woodson's not used to covering guys in the safety position.
And the extra point is good. Ike Bruce gives St. Louis a 17-3 lead, and Kurt Warner, he is really pitching the pigskin right now.
Boy, if you give Kurt Warner time, he's got 5 or 6 options on every play. You see Bruce coming across in motion, changing the coverage, coming outside. All of a sudden, Rod Woodson has to drop off and take that deep back of the end zone. And he's thinking about things. He's not as reactive as he could be at corner because that's his natural position. He has to think more at safety, and he talked about that. It's a little different feel for him.
28-year-old Kurt Warner, fired up going off the field. He's been in the Arena League. He's been in the World League, cut by Green Bay, finally given an opportunity to compete for the number 2 job here in St. Louis at the beginning of the season. Trent Green goes down against San Diego during a preseason game. And all of a sudden, he's the starting quarterback, and he's really playing well here in the first half.
Well, the national media said the Rams had no chance when Trent Green went down. We spent time talking to Kurt Warner about his initial experience in the NFL in Green Bay. And he came into a camp with Brett Favre, Mark Brunell, and Ty Detmer. 3 guys that are starting in the NFL right now. And he said, right then, I knew and I had the confidence that I could someday be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Rams kick it away. Harris, 2 yards deep. Up to the 20. It goes down to the 24. Isaac Bruce. And what a turnaround this season already with this offense. Look at the numbers, Brett, they put up last year offensively.
Gus, 3.5 yards a rush, ranked last. Passing TDs, 12. Net passing yards. That says ugly. And this Rams offense was atrocious, and they've really changed. They have really warmed up to Mike Martz's offense coming in this year from Washington.
Scott Mitchell under pressure. Mitchell loses the ball, and they say he was down.
No question about that one, Gus. They blew the whistle. Quarterback, they're trying to protect the quarterbacks this year when he's wrapped up.
Rolled down, grasping control. The play is over. Second down.
That is exactly the right call. The whistle blew. And it's funny because we thought the Ravens were going to put a lot of pressure on Kurt Warner, and it's the exact opposite. Scott Mitchell's seen a lot more pressure, I think, than he expected today.
Handed off to Chuck Evans. Evans ridden down by Ray Agnew, the former New York Giant in his 10th year, and that'll do it. The end of the first half of play. 17-3 the score. Fans on their feet here in St. Louis. The offense racked up 200 first-half yards. Kurt Warner, 174 yards passing, 18 of 25, and they head into the locker room leading it 17-3. Welcome back to St. Louis. Halftime, the Rams lead the Ravens 17-3. Gus Johnson along with Brent Jones. And Brent, in that first half, we have a guy, Kurt Warner, making his first career NFL start. He's played in the Arena League and the NFL Europe. He looked like he's been playing here forever.
Just remember, Gus, he has been successful everywhere he's been. He's made some big plays, and the Rams, just like they told us, have not cut back on that playbook. They are given so many different looks and plays and patterns today. This is one we saw in practice the other day. They completed it 4 times. Warner's first touchdown pass to Roland Williams, little play action fake. Do you think he's pumped up? He's saying, hey, told you I could do it.
And Warner was not finished. Here's the second touchdown pass.
Moving Isaac Bruce in motion, coming across. That changes the coverage. He's coming back across the end line. That's where a lot of defenses lose receivers. Warner knew it was going to happen, and he's saying right there, hey, I don't have to prove it. I can do it.
Confidence soaring right now for Kurt Warner. And a look at the halftime statistics. And what jumps out at you, Brent?
Well, that 200 total yards from the Rams side is huge, as opposed to 76 from the Ravens side. And we said the Ravens can't get into being a one-dimensional offense, just trying to go back and throw the ball. They've got to establish that running game. They haven't done it as well. Time of possession, too, Gus, huge. 20 minutes for the Rams. Twice as much as the Ravens. That says that, Gus, during the course of the first half, you know that you're lucky to even be within 14 points.
Now, Dick Vermeil told us yesterday that this is the most talent he's ever had on any team that he's ever coached. And remember, he had an Eagles team that went all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was unbelievable when he talked about just having a few players from that Eagles team would even make this Rams team. But this is the show me state, and we've talked about that. And just telling us yesterday, I believed him, but I wanted to see it in person, and I think he's showing everybody, and the Rams are showing everybody today, they can make it happen.
Big ceremony going on at halftime here in St. Louis. They are inducting a number of former Rams into the Ring of Honor. Deacon Jones, Merlin Olsen, all those kinds of guys on the field today. And, you know, I walked past Deacon Jones. There's Dan Deerdorf, our colleague at CBS, who's in Green Bay today with Bert Lundquist. Eric Dickerson also here. And I walked by Deacon Jones today before the game, and I was afraid to go up and say something to him.
Hey, those guys could still hurt you. There's Eric Dickerson, part of the famous SMU Pony Express. You know we've got that other guy from the Pony Express in the NFL Today studio.
There was another guy?
Craig James.
Oh, Craig James.
Hey, what part of the pony do you think Craig James was?
I'm not going to comment on that. Craig's a buddy of mine. But, yeah, Eric Dickerson. And you look at Marshall Faulk, sometimes you think that you're watching Eric Dickerson. They are very similar in the way they run the football.
You know, I spent some time with Eric Dickerson last year, and it looked to me like he could still play, and I'm sure he's shaking a lot of hands down there. A lot of guys idolized him growing up, and Marshall Faulk is one of those guys, and we'll be loving to go up and shake the hand of a great one like Eric Dickerson.
Deacon Jones there, and we are ready to begin the second half of play. What does Baltimore have to do, Brent, to get back into this game?
Well, I think it's too early to panic still, Gus. They've got to come out in the third quarter, establish some run, then you can use that play action, make some things happen, and they've got some vertical stretch. You see Matt Cavanaugh, the offensive coordinator, they've got some guys that can stretch the field, but you've got to give Scott Mitchell time, and right now that Rams defensive line saying these guys got to just pass the ball to get back in the game, so they are teeing off on that Ravens offensive line, and that quickness and speed of the Rams defense is really playing just like they'd expect it to.
Now, Matt Cavanaugh is the offensive coordinator, with Brian Billick, the head coach, calls all the plays, and the Ravens will get the football to begin the second half of play. And the numbers on Baltimore when trailing at halftime. Corey Harris from the 1. Reverses his field, looking for a block, and goes down at the 20-yard line. So here comes Scott Mitchell.
Gus, an interesting statistic from last year. The Ravens were outscored in the third quarter 85-41. That says to me you're not making the proper halftime adjustments. I guarantee you Brian Billick isn't going to just not do anything at halftime. He's going to have some adjustments. He's going to have some things for this Rams defense in the second half.
So Scott Mitchell, 3 of 13 in the first half of play, 45 yards. Passing on first down. Incomplete. Stokely, the intended receiver, and he underthrows it.
Second and 10.
Brandon Stokely, the rookie, 4th-round draft pick out of southwestern Louisiana, played football for his father in college.
And that's why they say he has so much savvy as a wide receiver. Most rookies can't come into the pro game at wide receiver and start right now, make an impact, but he has that savvy of being around a coach his whole life.
Right now, Scott Mitchell, 1 for his last 10. Ravens need a little bit of rhythm here. Baby steps, let's see. 2nd and 10. Play action. Mitchell. Chuck Evans, nice catch to scoop it up off the ground and get to the 30-yard line.
Real nice catch there by Chuck Evans, and he made some catches here in the preseason. He's got a little more moxie running the ball than I thought. He came over with Brian Billick from Minnesota, and you saw Grant Wistrom come in right now. Right there, left side of your screen, just missing the quarterback. And Spencer Falau, who came in for Jonathan Ogden at left tackle, is going to have his hands full here in the second quarter. Second half, I apologize.
3rd down and 2 from the 28. They need to get to the 30. Inside handoff. Evans with the first down. Mike Jones with the tackle. Gain of 4, and Chuck Evans was the first unrestricted free agent to sign with this Baltimore squad under Brian Billick.
Got some good hands coming out of the backfield. Can get you the tough yards inside as he showed right there. And he's got a little shake and bake to him.
So a first down from the 32. Stokely on the near side. They hand it off. Holmes bounces it outside and is ridden out of bounds at the 35 by Keith Lyle, the safety.
Now, we were talking about Spencer Falau, the left tackle, but he did a heck of a job engulfing Grant Wistrom right there at the line of scrimmage, allowing that ball carrier to get outside. And at some point in the second half, Falau's going to have to pass block Grant Wistrom, who was causing Jonathan Ogden all kinds of trouble. And Falau's a big guy, big man. He's strong, but he gets beat by that quick first move. Been doing my scouting report, and Grant Wistrom has that quick first move, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Gain of 4 on first down, 2nd and 6. Mitchell out of the backfield. Holmes all the way up to the 45-yard line. First down for Baltimore. So here you go. They're getting a little rhythm here, completing some passes and allowing players like Holmes and Evans to run after the catch.
Well, Gus, you got to be able to hit those underneath routes, backs out of the backfield as well. You got those speed guys on the outside, stretching it vertically. That opens it up underneath for some of these flat routes. See Priest Holmes sneaking out of the backfield in the flat, catching the ball, getting a big first down. Got to keep it going. Consistency is the key right now for this Ravens offense.
Aaron Pierce, the motion man. Here comes Jones on the blitz. Mitchell down the field. Jermaine Lewis incomplete. Jermaine Lewis held up by Light. And he had a great opportunity, but unable to get under it.
You know, Scott Mitchell had to get rid of that ball. There was some pressure. That pocket was collapsing on him. Had to just throw it up for grabs, and that's one of those instances, instead of throwing it out of bounds, just throw it as far as you can down the field.
Second and 10 from their own.
You know, Scott Mitchell is a very streaky passer, and the Rams talked about trying to upset his rhythm. They've done that thus far, but if he gets on a roll, Gus, he's got some weapons out there that can make some things happen really quick.
2nd and 10 from the 45. Here comes a blitz. Picked up by the Ravens underneath Evans, but he goes nowhere. He is wrapped up by Keith Lyle again. And Lyle drives the big fullback backwards. Keith Lyle, 6'2", 210. Chuck Evans, 6'1", 245.
You know, Gus, sometimes versus the blitz, a 1-yard gain is a victory. You get a lot of pressure. Instead of taking that sack, you hit your hot read out of the backfield to back, and a 1-yard gain. It doesn't sound great in statistics, but it's a lot better than a 10-yard sack.
Ravens need to get to the Rams 45 for a first down. Out of the shotgun. First time we've seen it. Here comes the blitz around the corner. Mitchell underneath thrown behind him.
Big Ray Agnew, number 99, defensive tackle breaking through. And he had a little bit of a tight hamstring this week. There was a question as to whether he was going to play, and he was a heck of a solid run defender. You cannot move him out of the middle there. And just went barreling into the backfield and forced Scott Mitchell to throw the ball behind the receiver. Coach Billick looking a little frustrated right now with that offense. It looked like for a moment there they were going to start picking it up and staying consistent.
Third punt. This one off the side of his foot. Hakeem picks it up at the 20. Scampers out of bounds at 29. 11:45 to go. Third quarter of play. Here come the Rams. (17-3). St. Louis leads Baltimore. They take over from their own 30-yard line. Gus Johnson, Brent Jones with you. Transworld Dome in downtown St. Louis. Play action. Warner going for the home run. Isaac Bruce sideline makes the catch, gets out of bounds.
And what a heck of a toss by Kurt Warner. And when you have Marshall Faulk, you're so excited about being able to use that play action because that holds the defense. You're going to see a little fake handoff here to Faulk. Boom. Kurt Warner got the arm strength, Gus. And when you can throw that deep corner route or that deep out route and that ball is on a line, you know the guy's got some juice in his arm. Kurt Warner, we saw him in practice do it, and he can throw the ball down the field.
Picked up 18 yards on the play. Kurt told us that although this is my first NFL start, I've played a lot of football, 28 years old. In the Arena League, you had to score on every possession. Therefore, there was a priority put on every possession, and that gave me some tremendous experience. Marshall Faulk gets to midfield, wrapped up by Herring and Jamie Sharper.
Great job there by Robert Holcomb, just keeping Mike McCrary, who snuck into the backfield, out of the way. And when you're playing an offense, you do not want to see this. Isaac Bruce 6 catches, Marshall Faulk 5, Azir Hakeem 4. Across the board, guys.
7 different guys.
Ricky Pro, Roland Williams, Chad Lewis. Who do you cover?
Wow.
How about having to say Azahir Hakeem in your first game?
You're doing very well.
Yeah, I said it there.
You're doing very well.
Third try.
First game for Brent Jones, first game for Kurt Warner, and they are coming up all roses.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of the Super Bowl. Nike, and by the new larger Saturn L Series.
Welcome back, 17-3. St. Louis driving once again inside Baltimore territory. Gus Johnson, Brent Jones with you. And Kurt Warner, his confidence really growing series by series. Second down and 7. Isaac Bruce in motion. Warner, this time incomplete. Broken up by Cornell Brown, the outside linebacker. Now coming up Monday, September 20th, a stretch of open road, a brand new Harley, and a man who has no idea how to ride it. Get your motor running. Watch the King of Queens wild season premiere a week from Monday on September 20th on CBS, America's most watched network.
I saw a little King of Queens on the airlines.
Did you?
And I had my headphones on and I was laughing out loud. People were looking at me like I was some kind of a goofball. And I don't laugh at a lot of things. That's pretty darn funny.
Third down and 7. Rams need to get to the 42.5 for a first down. Warner underneath, incomplete, had Torrey Holt open, but unable to get it to him. But Kurt Warner, he's confident because he certainly has something to prove.
The people here believe that I can be successful. My teammates, the coaches, and I believe I can be successful. And that's what I want to go out and prove. I want to prove it to the coaches who gave me the opportunity. I want to prove it to my teammates that they're not going to be a letdown since Trent's been injured, that I can go out and do the same things he would have done in this same situation.
Gus, I don't care what anybody says. Nobody other than the players for the Rams, the coaches, and the organization believed that Kurt Warner was going to have an impact, and especially in his first game.
High wobbly kick shanked by Tootin. Bounces out of bounds at the 33. 17-yard punt. 10:16 to go, third quarter. Back in a moment. Ray Lewis on the sideline, sitting next to Rod Woodson. 17-3. Ravens trail. Baltimore with the football at the 33-yard line. Here comes a blitz. Picked up. Sideline. Caught by Ismail. And he is down by light at the 43.5. Make it 44. Gain of 11.
Nice job by Scott Mitchell reading that blitz, hitting that quick out route. And Qadri Ismail's really talked about working on specific routes. See how he leans inside, then breaks back out. Even Todd Light, great corner, 9-year veteran, can't break that play up.
First down. Mitchell underneath, incomplete. Aaron Pierce had it. Ball was thrown behind him.
Just a little bit behind him, and Aaron Pierce has to be able to open up that hip and make that catch. If it's in the vicinity, the good tight ends will make that catch, and right now, you've got to make some plays. The Ravens got to make some plays, and as tough as catch as it is, he's got to hang on to that one. And big guy, big blocker, came over from the Giants here, played with the Giants for a couple years, and got to be able to hang on to that ball.
Priest Holmes looking for a crease. Next to the 45, DeMarco Farr, the defensive tackle, with the stop. Brian Billick, first game as a head coach, the first one that really counts. Ravens were 4-0 during the preseason. Under Ted Marchibroda last year, they were 4-0, but lost their opening game last year to Pittsburgh.
Only 3 teams in the 90s have gone undefeated in the preseason and not gone to the playoffs. The Ravens were one of those last year.
Third down and 8.
They don't want to be one of those this year.
They need to get to the Rams 46. Safety creeps up. And a whistle. DeMarco Farr is pointing at the left guard for Baltimore, Everett Lindsey.
You got that safety creeping up. Scott Mitchell changing the play.
Number 70, offense moving prior to the snap. A 5-yard penalty. Third down.
Harry Swain.
Little rock there, right tackle, and that gets tough. They show that blitz look. All of a sudden, everybody tenses up, whether the blitz was coming from the Rams or not. As an offensive lineman, you're getting ready to go because the whole defense could be coming.
Third down,
little rock back. Can't have that when you're trying to make first downs.
They need to get to the 46. Mitchell under pressure. Incomplete. Skips it to Jermaine Lewis.
Kevin Carter all over Scott Mitchell. He was in that backfield before Mitchell could set his feet. And Gus, that's 2 of the reasons I retired. Game 1 versus these Rams and Kevin Carter, and game 2. That would be 2 good reasons when I was 35 years old said, I don't want to know if I want to play against Kevin Carter twice a year, because he's playing at all-pro potential.
The Ravens, look at the total yards. Richardson angles it toward the sideline. Hakeem. And steps out of bounds close to the 20. 45-yard punt, 6-yard return. 8:33 to go. Third quarter. Ravens in a hole.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Microsoft. Where do you want to go today? And by Fidelity Investments. We help you invest responsibly.
We have an update on Jonathan Ogden, who went out in the first half. He has a hip bruise and will not return to the football game. First down and 10 for the Rams from their own 19. Robinson in motion. Handoff. Marshall Faulk, nowhere to go. Tony Siragusa, the Goose they call him in Baltimore, with the tackle. And his wife just had a little baby boy, Anthony. 3 weeks early, he weighed 9 pounds. So if he's anything like his dad, he's going to be an eater.
There's the Goose. He filmed a spot for us on the NFL Today last year, deep frying a turkey. Pretty unbelievable. Jim Nantz went out to his house and said the guy knows how to stuff a turkey. Talking to these Rams coaches, they're pretty worried about him stuffing their run today.
Second down and 11, a loss of 1 on the last play. That was very nice, Fred. You're good at this already. underneath, incomplete, intended for Falk. And I tell you, Dick Vermeil told us that Kurt Warner is not going to be as good today as he will be in 5 games. And you look at some of the passes that he misses on, and you can tell once he starts really finding his groove, it's going to be a dangerous situation.
Very dangerous. And, you know, the Rams wide receivers, there's at least one Ram wide receiver that has been wide open every play. You saw Marshall Faulk, Warner just a little bit behind him here on this last play. Marshall Faulk's caught that play twice already in this game for big plays. The Ravens still have no clue how to defend Marshall Faulk coming out of the backfield, going down the middle of the field.
And the quarterback comparison, Warner, his first career NFL start, Mitchell, the veteran. And Warner putting up some nice numbers so far. 3rd down and 11. Warner steps up in the pocket, side shifts, and knocked away. Chris McAllister, the rookie corner, made the play. He already has an interception. And Kurt Warner heads to the sideline.
On 4th down for St. Louis, number 11.
Now tomorrow on CBS, it's a night to remember. Watch for great episodes and relive the special moments from TV's best comedy. This obviously is Everybody Loves Raymond. It's 2 full hours of Everybody Loves Raymond, followed by 48 hours.
Did you come up with that Ray
No,
member all by yourself? Hey, you're getting good at this.
That's written for me. So the Ravens trailing at 17-3. Let's see what Scott Mitchell and company can do after this. Jonathan Ogden on the sideline with the hip bruise, will not return, obviously, in street clothes. Would love to be out there because they need him. Ravens trailing 17-3. They have been inept on the offensive side. Scott Mitchell and his receivers, no chemistry thus far. Let's see. They start from their own 39. Handoff, Priest Holmes. Lowers his shoulder. And he will not gain anything on the play. Now next Saturday, CBS Sports kicks off Home Depot College football with a day-night doubleheader. First, LeVar Harrington powers Joe Paterno's Nittany Lions against the resurgent Miami Hurricanes, and in the nightcap, T. Martin leads the defending national champs into the swamp to take on Steve Spurrier's Gators for Michigan and Syracuse. Scott Mitchell to the sideline, caught number 85 with the reception, Greg DeLong. He came over from Minnesota, out of bounds at about the 45-yard line.
Little taste of the 44. Little taste, Gus, of what the Ravens can do. You know, they had a trips set over there. Trips is meaning 3 receivers possible that side of the field. DeLong went in motion across the center, came back. It's what you call flooding a zone. With those 2 wide receivers out there, you got to be more concerned about them than the tight end. He's a little running room underneath. Nice 6-yard gain.
3rd down, 5. They need to get to the 49 for a first down. Todd Light creeping up on the right side. Watch it. Now Billy Jenkins backs off. Mitchell under pressure. Drops the football. And the Rams come up with the sack. Kevin Carter, 93, around the left side. And it's a frustrating beginning for Brian Billick. Kevin Carter, 12 sacks last year, the most by a Ram since Kevin Green's 13 in 1990.
And they think he's going to be a Pro Bowler for a lot of years to come. They just want him to be a little more consistent and play at the level that he can play at, which you just saw all the time. And it was so nice to see Kevin Carter being in street clothes and shaking his hand and being friendly with him. And he just went right by everybody.
High spiraling kick. Oz back deep at the 8, on his feet. And ridden down at the 40-yard line. Azahir Hakim. Good special teams coverage, but a flag on the play.
And Oz trying to make something happen, but inside the 10, those punt returners are told to let the ball go in the end zone. There's Kevin Carter, and like I said, just seeing him scares me a little bit.
And the official got knocked down on the play.
You know, the last time I played a game,
the referee, Tom White.
I played against Kevin Carter here a couple years ago, and his knee kicked me in the head, and I hit the back of the turf and got a concussion. I had gone to Dan Deerdorf's restaurant the night before, and I'd love to tell you it was a great meal, but I don't remember.
Personal foul. Face mask on the tackle. That'll be 15 yards. First down.
Rams catch a break.
Boy, big break. And Brian, these are the things that give coaches gray hairs. You got a guy backed up inside the 5. You get sloppy with your hands. If you touch his face mask, pull the hand off. The referee won't call it. You get your hand up there. Keep the hand on the face mask, and that brings him right back out to the 23-yard line. James Trapp and came over from the Oakland Raiders, where they're used to getting hands on face masks and a few other things.
First down for the Rams from their own 23. Roland Williams in motion. Warner to Marshall Faulk out of the backfield. Nice move. Look at the hop. And is ridden down at the 21-yard line. Fernando Smith got outside and made the tackle for the Ravens.
Now, Gus, you can tell this is a new era in St. Louis because they are up by 14 points. There's a little over 5 minutes left, and they're throwing the ball on first down. You haven't seen that from the Rams for a long time. They said they were going to be aggressive. They said they were going to be different. And it's the third quarter, and they still are. Dick Vermeil said he'd like to start getting some more runs with the ball in the fourth quarter. Get Marshall Faulk the ball in the fourth quarter when they're ahead. And he said the most important thing is you need to be ahead.
Faulk getting up slowly. Lost 2 yards on the play. Second down 12. Faulk again through the hole. Marshall Faulk up over the 30-yard line to the 32. Tackled by Dwayne Starks. But it's a gain of 13 yards. And look at the acceleration.
You see the Rams center coming right off, getting a great block there. Mike Grudadoria clearing the way for Marshall Faulk, who hits that hole as hard as anybody. And the Ravens haven't seen as much as Marshall Faulk today as they thought they would, especially after he gained 192 last year on him. But they've seen an awful lot more than they were expecting from the wide receivers and tight ends.
Now Robert Holcomb lines up as the single setback, 3-receiver package. Draw play, Holcomb nowhere to go. Nice defensive play. Mike McCrary, we haven't called his name today.
And he talked about not playing during the preseason, being a little tired and gassed. And you see him use his hands. He's great at using his hands. Gets right by here, right into the backfield. And that's a tough battle drawing Orlando Pace week 1, especially after you haven't played in the preseason, Gus.
That time he got by the tight end, Roland Williams. McCrary last season, 14.5 sacks. Michael Sinclair led the NFL in sacks with 16.5 with Seattle. Warner stumbles and is down. Rob Burnett jumps on top of him at the 21.
Okay, maybe that wasn't the most athletic move that we see. I'm sure Kurt Warner was hoping that that wouldn't happen, and it's a nicer thing to happen there. And I'm sure somebody steps on his foot. You can't exactly see. The quarterbacks just don't usually fall, but I'm sure he's glad it happened in the third quarter up by 14 points as opposed to the first quarter down by 14.
Trans World Dome in St. Louis. Beautiful facility. Sellout crowd. 66 plus. Third down and a long 22. Rams need to get to the 44-yard line for a first down. Warner rolls backside. Winds up. Underthrown. Intended for Torrey Holt.
Just got that ball away, Gus, and a name that we haven't called that much today, Peter Boulware, has that dislocated shoulder, re-injured it in the preseason game last week. He's wearing a harness on that shoulder, and it is just very fortunate for Kurt Warner that he got rid of that ball because he takes a shot right there. And Boulware's wearing a harness on his shoulder, and it doesn't allow him full extension. I had to wear it having a dislocated shoulder a couple times in my career. You can't wrap up. You can't use your rip move as well, and that's why we probably haven't heard that much from him today.
And this punt, not very good by Tootin. Rolls out of bounds. He's been working on directional punting and has not been grasping the concept, and you see it right there. Scott Mitchell Out of the backfield, Chuck Evans with the catch, and he gets close to a first down.
This pass completed to Evans. Tackled by Collins and
17-3, 2:46 to go, third quarter of play. And a 9-yard gain for Evans.
This Ravens team, Gus, is going to really have to start taking some chunks of yardage.
So far, Chuck Evans has 3 catches, 19 yards. And he picks up the first down.
You know, this is about the territory where you say, hey, we got to turn loose Jermaine Lewis and take a shot.
Here's Dick Vermeil.
Hadn't got the ball down the field. Dick Vermeil going over some plays with Kurt Warner.
Vermeil does not call the plays. Mike Martz, the offensive coordinator, calls the plays. He makes suggestions, and he has veto power, as they say. First and 10. Todd Light backs up off with Jermaine Lewis. Down the middle, caught at the 40-yard line. Ismail with the reception. And close to another first down.
pass completed to Ismail.
And it is a first down. Gain of 12.
You know, when people think of Qadri Ismail, they think of deep routes, a lot of speed. You see him getting over his knees, being able to stop on a dime, timing route. That's a heck of a job. Get the first down, move the chain.
Qadri, used primarily as a return man last year in New Orleans. 4 catches, 46 yards. Mitchell. Down the sideline, incomplete. Intended for, I believe, Lovett Purnell, yes, the tight end, who was traded from New England here to Baltimore. Sat behind Ben Coates, learned a lot, but unable to hold on to the ball down the sideline. Todd Collins, another former Patriot, covering on the play.
You know, the Rams are really excited about having Todd Collins taking the place of Roman Pfeiffer. And the Rams wanted to see how life was without Roman Pfeiffer. Todd Collins has stepped in and done a heck of a job.
Second down 10 from the 40. Scott Mitchell looking in trouble. Mitchell. And he throws it out of bounds. Wise choice. A lot of pressure from Lyle. Safety. And an interesting note to pass along to you folks today. Jets taking on New England. Vinny Testaverde, a ruptured Achilles tendon. He's out for the rest of the year.
What a shocker, Gus. Week 1, and it's every coach's worst nightmare. And we were in New York a couple weeks ago talking to Vinny. Super quality guy, and they are only just one play away from having Kurt Warner or Rick Meyer in at quarterback, and now they have to face the whole season without him.
Just like St. Louis.
Trent
Green goes down.
Absolutely.
In the preseason. Third down and 10 for the Ravens. They need to get to the 30. Here comes the blitz. Thrown, and Armour with the catch at the 31-yard line. He's about a yard short, gain of 9. Flag on the play.
And Gus, the league tries to do everything they can to protect these quarterbacks. They don't want the franchise quarterbacks getting hurt in week 1 or in the preseason.
And this, though, will be a legal shift against the Ravens.
Illegal shift.
Now let's take a look. San Diego, the Rams. Rodney Harrison goes for the knee of Trent Green, and he blows it out.
Preseason game, you don't want to go for a guy's knee. And Rodney Harrison is a guy that is very ferocious. I don't think that the intent was to hurt Trent Green. They used to be teammates, but you got to stay up, especially in the preseason game. Let's face it, those are just to get ready for the season. They're meaningless games, and to lose their starting quarterback, that's just a shame for the Rams. Fortunately, Kurt Warner stepped it up for them.
Third down and 15. They need to get to the 30. Mitchell. Underneath, Armour with the catch. And a first down. Nice grab as Justin Armour cradles the football and picks up the first down for the Ravens. Gain of 17.
Justin Armour doing a nice job running that corner route just past the first down. Those are the things that he brings from Stanford, where he was with Brian Billick, and he's a guy that is familiar with the offense, familiar with the way Brian does things, and that's why he's around. That's why he's in there in crucial situations, making some big catches. Good possession receiver, 6'4", maybe not the speed of a Jermaine Lewis or a Qadri Ismail, but still a guy that can make some plays.
First down from the 28 of St. Louis. Now Mitchell again. Here comes the blitz. Goes for Stokely! Touchdown! The rookie hauled it in 28 yards, and the Ravens are back in business. And we told you this kid, Brent, has the potential to be very special.
Great savvy, one-on-one with Taji Allen, and they talked about going after Taji Allen. We talked about it early. Just gets his hand in front of him, gets a little step on his shoulder, looks that ball in, touchdown. The young kid, awful excited.
First career touchdown. And Stokely, Brian Billick likes to call him a basketball player on grass, because he can really run and make things happen. So the extra point is good. 15 seconds to go, third quarter. Stokely with the touchdown. And now the game, 7 points. First career touchdown.
Well, that's exactly what the Ravens needed to get back into this game, and that's exactly what Scott Mitchell needed. Remember, we talked about him being a streaky passer. He's starting to make some throws right now, kind of being comfortable on the offense. And in Scott Mitchell's defense, he came to a new team. All these receivers came to a new team, a new offense, and they're still trying to get familiar with each other. The timing, the routes, all those things take time. You can't just slap it together in a couple months and say, okay, everybody's going to be on the same page. But it looks like he's getting his feet under him now, Gus.
Stokely, and you have to credit Terry McDonough, who was the scout that drafted Brandon Stokely, or suggested they draft Brandon Stokely. And Terry is the brother of one of our colleagues at CBS, Sean McDonough, who will be working the big football game for CBS next week. So his little brother Terry doing a good job out there beating the bushes and coming up with talent for this Ravens team. 17-10 the score. Stover kicks it away. Here's Horn now. Returns it from the goal line. And Horn goes down. Number 37. Benny Thompson with the tackle. He is a Pro Bowler on special teams, and Benny fired up now. Now coming up next, it's the U.S. Open men's final, where number 2 Andre Agassi tries to win his second U.S. Open against number 7 Todd Martin. That's coming up next on CBS Sports, an All-American U.S. Open men's final.
And I saw Benny Thompson talking trash after that play, and he just had a big article where he said he wasn't going to talk trash anymore because the guys on the other team vote for the Pro Bowl, and he wanted to go to the Pro Bowl. I guess he forgot about that statement.
That's right. First down 10 from the 14 for the Rams. Play action warning. Knocked down by Ron Jenkins, but a flag on the play. Looks like somebody from Baltimore had a hand on Holt.
Yeah, I think Ron Jenkins doing the little arm bar, holding up Torrey Holt. And that's exactly what we got.
Brings us to the end of the third quarter.
Holding, number 25, defense. That'll be a 5-yard penalty and an automatic first down. That's the end of the third quarter.
End of the third quarter with the score. The Rams lead the Ravens 17-10. We'll return to the Trans World Dome right after this message and a word from your local station. Marshall Faulk running the football for the Rams, and he's stopped by Fernando Smith. also McCrary in on the play, and Marshall Faulk. He told you he's a double threat. He's put up some solid numbers so far today. 13 carries, 41 yards. Also a good job receiving the football. Six catches, 34 yards. Warner down the middle. Isaac Bruce with the catch. Tackled by Corey Harris, and Bruce gets up, pushes Harris, and there's a flag. Harris standing over Bruce after he really just crushed him, and Ike didn't like it.
Isaac Bruce took a big hit there, but you're not supposed to be able to stand over an offensive player and talk trash and stand on his fingers while he's trying to get up.
Spoken like a true receiver.
That's exactly right. He takes a shot already. Now he's kind of giving him the old knee and the shoulder. He's like, get off me, I want to get up. Okay. That's just a normal push after a play. That doesn't need to be a flag. The guy just got his head taken off over the middle. I mean, if you throw a punch, it's one thing.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 80. It's a 15-yard penalty for where he was tackled. It's considered part of the play. Second down.
You know, Gus, guys push each other all the time. I guess it's because it was right there in front of the officials. But guys see that? There's pushing after the play. Like I said, if he throws a punch or he pops him in the side of the head, that's a different deal. When a guy's standing over you after you just got crunched, you get up and he won't get off you, you get a little frustrated.
Okay, so the Rams push back. Second down and 17. Marshall Faulk up to the 20. McCrary in the bottom of the pile. Also Ray Lewis.
Because Peter Boulware was only supposed to be in on passing downs, but he's being in on every down right now, and he's got that shoulder harness, and this is an unbelievable restrictive harness. You got to wrap it around your stomach and keep it wrap it around your shoulder.
Peter Boulware, third year out of Florida State. Had 8.5 sacks a year ago, and he injured that shoulder during training camp. Missed the first 3 preseason games, played the 4th and re-injured it against the Giants. 3rd and 9 from the 20. Warner down the seam. First down.
Big third down
gain of 17.
Huge third down conversion. And we were talking about Peter Boulware and the strap that he has to wear. Got a little sample. This actually goes around your waist, and your arm is restricted. You can't go up, you can't go forward, you can't go back. So his rip move and the move, this slap move, all the things that he's trying to do, very restricted. We haven't called his name a lot in quarterback sacks today because he hadn't been getting back there. With this, it's going to be a tough season for him.
First down and 10. Flag on the play. Marshall Faulk breaks it outside and gets out of bounds.
Marshall Faulk.
Looks like Mike McCrary might have jumped. You know, the Rams were talking about using the hard count this week, and Dick Vermeil said, I just hope we don't keep getting our guys, our offensive linemen. And early in the game, they were getting their guys. This time, I think they finally got the Ravens, though.
Offsides, defense, number 99. It's a 5-yard penalty, first down.
12:23 to go in the 4th quarter, and the Rams lead at 17-10. Rams opened up the scoring with the 35-yard field goal in the 1st quarter by Wilkins. Then a 6-yard touchdown from Kurt Warner to Roland Williams. Ravens came back with a Stover field goal in the 2nd quarter. Then the Rams scored again. Warner to Isaac Bruce, and finally Mitchell hit Stokely for a 28-yard touchdown. Marshall Faulk tripped up, sent down. 79 is Larry Webster.
Tackled by Webster.
Larry Webster in their defensive tackle and Tony Saragusa, they talked about trying to move a couple of fire hydrants out of there. They've been trying to get Marshall Faulk out wide a little bit. It's tough running up there inside.
2nd and 7.
And I know the Rams would like to have a few more carries offensively, but every time they go back to pass, somebody's wide open.
Big game for the Rams. Not only is it their opener, but they have a bye the second week of the season, so they'll get off next week. Nice for Warner's confidence with the extra week of practice. Warner in trouble. Lost it. Picked up. Dropped. And finally recovered by the Ravens at the 30. Number 96 with the recovery, Fernando Smith. And there to strip it away, Deron Jenkins.
And you got to wonder, was Warner's arm going forward? We're going to see the replay right here. He had that arm cocked. If he starts it forward, it's not a fumble. Boy, I don't know. It looked like he was getting ready to throw it out of bounds.
And an Olay block.
Actually, I think the defensive guy hit the arm before it started going forward. Peter Bulwer had a chance to pick that up, Gus, and score. I just wonder if that harness affected him not being able to pick up the ball and run in for an easy touchdown.
Very good point. So the Ravens take over at the 30. Touchdown ties the game. Priest Holmes.
Todd Collins making a huge play because there was some room to run down that left sideline, Gus. And the Rams defensive coaches said earlier, and I talked about it, they want to see what life is going to be like with Roman Pfeiffer, the do-everything linebacker. Todd Collins here stepping up, taking on the blocker, knocking him down. Everett Lindsey going down and then taking the runner down. Interesting sidelight, Roman Pfeiffer, free agent over to the Jets, got beat out by James Farrier.
How about the Eagles today? Beating up on Arizona. 2nd and 16. Scott Mitchell. And Mitchell clothesline and driven down. Fortunately got it away. But I believe it's Kevin Carter again. Kevin Carter coming hard around the edge. And he almost took off Scott Mitchell's head.
I think he did take it off. Boy, it sounded huge from up here, right on top of his helmet. And Scott Mitchell's lucky to just get rid of that ball. That could have easily been a fumble. One more split second. You see his hand come down. Boom. That's not a good feeling.
Used to be Ram, Deacon Jones, that made that head slap pretty famous.
Yeah, then they outlawed it.
3rd and 16. Ravens need to get to the 20 for a first down. Mitchell. Here comes Carter again. Carter got to him again. Mike Jones also. Carter is coming around that left corner, folks, in 4-4.
And the Ravens can't stop him right now. And we talked about Kevin Carter being consistent every down. He's got all-pro ability, and he's going right by Greg DeLong. And, the Ravens got to be a little smarter. You cannot have a tight end blocking one-on-one and pass blocking Kevin Carter. You can't do that. You've got to get that tight end some help. I don't care how good a blocker Greg DeLong is.
So Stover in to attempt his second 54-yarder. This one up. And he pushed it wide right. Second miss of the game for Stover. He missed 3 last year on opening day and a loss to Pittsburgh.
Today's ticket stub to claim your $5 off full-service oil change.
Kickoff 99 in the National Football League. CBS Sports, proud to bring you the coverage of the NFL. Gus Johnson, Brent Jones with you. Kevin Carter, what a player. Causing all kinds of havoc for the Ravens. So Warner with the football from the 44. Marshall Faulk running between the tackles, gets over the 44 inside, probably at the 46-yard line, tackled by Tony Saragusa. Kurt Warner so far 21 of 33, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And there are the numbers on Faulk. All purpose.
You might see him break some big runs here. Ravens are going to be looking for some pass here.
2nd and 8. Isaac Bruce, the motion man. Caught by Bruce.
Late flag into the area of the reception. See how Isaac Bruce gets over his knees? He's just able to stop right there on a dime.
What do you mean, get over his knees?
He gets over his knees. You've got to get the top of your body over the lower half, and that allows you to stop.
Personal foul against Baltimore. 11th penalty against the Ravens. They're hurting themselves.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 52 White, hit to the head, 15-yard penalty will be at the end of the play. First down.
Ray Lewis.
Now, Gus, remember that Isaac Bruce play where he got the 15-yard penalty, and I said that might have been a little cheap just because he got up and pushed the guy. You just wonder, was that his makeup call right there? Little head to the knee.
Does that
Sometimes they
actually
call
happen?
it. Well, you tell me. I've been on the field before. It's tough to know for sure, but these officials, I think, are more aware of it. Isaac Bruce probably said, hey, they're doing this to me. They're pushing me. They're kneeing me in the head when I'm getting up. Hey, can you watch out for it? At least it draws the officials' attention to it, and maybe that was what he got right there. Maybe that wouldn't have been called had they not called the one on Bruce before.
Rams now at the Ravens 33. And a fresh set of downs. Only one receiver, Bruce. Starks backs up off him. Play action. Stop and go for Bruce. Turns around. Boy, he really just juked Starks out of his cleats. He was wide open.
That is what we call a comeback, and that's a deep comeback. And you sell the corner like you are going to go all the way right by him at about 23 yards. You stop and come back. Isaac Bruce, like we were talking about, getting over his knees and coming out of that break. And look at that comparison. Jermaine Lewis, no catches. He has got to make some big plays for this Ravens team to have a chance. Isaac Bruce doing it all for the Rams today, Gus.
Second down and long. Play fake. Warner got crunched on the play by number 79, Larry Webster. Incomplete. Warner stuck in there. Boy, Webster really delivered the wood on that play.
Yeah, you know what, Gus? Two receivers in the same spot, Robert Holcomb, Roland Williams. That wasn't Kurt Warner's fault. You got two guys right out there. Kurt Warner takes a big hit. You can't have two receivers in the same spot. Somebody messed up. That's one of those things. Hey, is it me? Oh, no, it's that guy. No, and I think it's Robert Holcomb because Roland Williams threw his hand up, and the coach is talking to Holcomb as he comes off to the sideline.
Third down 10 from the 33. They need to get to the 23 for a first down. Holt on the near side. Underneath. And dropped by Falk. He had a touchdown right in front of him.
And they have not covered that play all day. And that one was tipped up. Had he caught that, he was going all the way. You saw the time before they ran that. Kurt Warner threw it a little bit behind him. He was wide open. The other two times, bent down the middle, big plays.
Falk disappointed with himself. Nice read by Warner. And a 51-yard field goal attempt now for Jeff Wilkins. Tooting the holder. It's up. And good. Wow. He's made a 35-yarder and a 51-yarder, and the Rams take a 20-10 lead.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by IBM. Are you ready for e-business? And by DirecTV. What are you looking at?
2010, St. Louis leads Baltimore on the Jeff Wilkins 51-yard field goal. There are the Rams. Wilkins. Line drive kick. Harris picks it up at the goal line. Harris with an opening all the way up to the 28.
Lewis.
Return of 29 yards.
Correction. Harris.
8:46 to go in the fourth quarter.
Official timeout on the field.
8:46 to go, fourth quarter. Rams lead it over the Ravens. Ravens with the football at their own 28-yard Mitchell to the sideline, and he flings it out of bounds. Here's a question for you. Dick Vermeil. He brought in a new offensive coordinator. He's letting coaches coach. Guess who that guy is right there?
Well, I know it's not me, and I'm pretty sure it's not you.
Look at that buzz cut. Look at those helmets. Leather helmets. Dick Vermeil, that's when he was the head coach at Hillsdale High School in San Mateo, California. Scott Mitchell, and Mitchell goes down. Grant Wistrom, second sack.
Grant Wistrom's been tearing him up all day, and you got to give Dick Vermeil credit. His third year with the Rams here in St. Louis. He only has 10 players from his first year left on the roster, and he was excited. He said for the first time this was his team. And there's been a lot of criticism on Dick Vermeil in the last couple of years about how hard he works the guys and how hard he works in training camp. He's taken them out of pads, gotten the players a little fresher, and guys are really responding to it. He's a quality man and a quality coach.
Scott Mitchell down the middle, nobody home. Ravens falling apart offensively right now, folks.
Yeah, they're just taking some shots down the middle. And you see they became one-dimensional like we talked about early in the program. They had to do more establishing the run. Priest Holmes had some big carries early on, and they got away from that, and now they're throwing the ball. And this quick, reactive Rams defense has been all over the field.
You've got the Oz back deep. Azahir Hakeem standing at the 37. Spiraling kick angled toward the sideline. And it takes a Baltimore bounce all the way down to the 5. Make it 10. A 66-yard punt.
NFL on CBS is sponsored by Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers. And by Ameritrade, the way to trade, period.
2010. St. Louis, 7:55 to go. Looking for season opening win. Robert Holcomb drops it out of the backfield. And he had a lot of running room.
Second and 10.
Thursday, September 23rd on CBS. The creator of Ally McBeal and the practice is checking into Chicago Hope. There will be a new attitude, new faces, and a whole new hope. Don't miss the season premiere Thursday, September 23rd on CBS.
New attitude, new faces, new hope. That sounds like the Rams.
That's right. New attitude, new faces, new hope. Maybe it should be the St. Louis Rams show. Safety comes up, makes the play. Marshall Faulk almost got through that hole, and he comes up holding his right hip. Gain 6.
Heck of a job by lead blocker there, fullback Robert Holcomb. You heard pads smacking all the way up here in the booth.
Kim Herring suffered a shoulder separation last year, forced him to miss half the season. Third year, played collegiately at Penn State. This young man, 28 years old, played at Northern Iowa. From Boise. Ricky Kroll in motion. Kurt Warner. Sideline. Finds Ricky Kroll. Out of bounds. First down.
You know if there's a hole, Ricky Kroll is going to find it. And there's not a whole lot of quarterbacks that can zing the ball on the line like Kurt Warner. Now, he doesn't have the experience, but he has a strong cannon for an arm. I saw him a couple days in practice, and that ball, see Kroll laying the corner inside, gives himself a lot of room, and that ball was right on the money. First down, and I really like the way the Rams are calling plays. They had a play-action play on first down, nice out route there on third. They're not being conservative like everybody thought they'd be. They're being a very aggressive team, just like they told us they would be.
Here's the pitch. Faulk pops through the hole. Gets over the 30. Mike McCrary and Jamie Sharper in on the tackle.
it's just a matter of time before Marshall Faulk breaks one of those and is off down the sidelines. It might not be today, it might not be next week, but it's going to happen. And the Rams aren't playing a stiff defense here with the Ravens. This is one of the better defenses in the league. Their front seven compares with anybody, and so they're not doing it against the weak sisters. They're doing it against some big-time defensive players.
Last year, 1,319 yards rushing. Made it to his third Pro Bowl. Ricky Prohl, slant pattern, Holt grabs it at the 40-yard line right in front of Dwayne Starks. This kid, he told me that he learned how to hold the football, how to hold on to the football by pulling tobacco growing up in his hometown of Gibsonville, North Carolina. He said, it really makes your hands strong, Gus. And I think that's one reason that I'm able to hold on to that thing.
Hey, that's a heck of a story. Jerry Rice used to catch bricks on the roof, doing roofing, catch bricks, throw them up to the top of the roof, and he'd hang on to them, and he said that made his fingers strong. If I would have done those things, maybe I could still be playing.
3rd down and 1 from the 41-yard line. Marshall Faulk, first down.
Now, 3rd and 1 doesn't seem like a huge deal, but the big goose, Tony Saragusa, had some penetration. Marshall Faulk had to sidestep him just to get up, get forward, get some forward yardage, and get that first down. And sometimes those little tiny plays, little 1-yard play, are very instrumental in a victory. You're going to see Goose right there clogging up the hole. You see Marshall Faulk step left, fall forward over the pile, first down, 1-yard gain, huge running off the clock. There's only 4.5 minutes left in this game. That first down might have been it for the Ravens.
Top, Larry Webster on the bottom. 4:17 to go.
Jamie Sharper's made some plays today for that Ravens defense. He's got some great speed.
Defense always playing pretty well for the Ravens, but they averaged last year only 12 points a game. Offense needs to put some points on the board. 62-year-old Dick Vermeil, who took about a 15-year layoff from coaching to be a broadcaster. Coached in Philadelphia, took his team to the Super Bowl. Now back in St. Louis, his 3rd year. Young quarterback doing a nice job today so far for him. Kurt Warner. And he throws Marshall Faulk out of the backfield. Faulk, look at this. Making people miss inside the 20-yard line. Pitch and catch.
Marshall Faulk running a flatten up. Little hitch by the quarterback. Marshall Faulk out in the flat toward the sidelines and then turns it up. He was wide open. They have not been able to cover him all day. Kurt Warner lays it right in there. And Jamie Sharper covering Marshall Faulk, no matter how fast Sharper is, it can't happen. And those are the types of matchups this Rams offense has gotten today. A linebacker covering Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk might be able to make the Pro Bowl as a wide receiver.
Gained 38 yards on that play. First down from the Ravens 19, Robert Holcomb. No room over that left side. McCrary and Saragusa plugging it up. For Kurt Warner, he's like Magic Johnson today. Look at all the assists. Look how he's spreading the football around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 receivers.
Isaac Bruce, he told us, I'm back. And he's making it happen today. And Kurt Warner's been a big part of that. He said he was just going to get the ball out to his guys. Got a lot of playmakers out there, more than anybody even knows at this point.
Inside the 3-minute mark. 2nd and 11. Pump fake. Holt. Great catch. Touchdown. The rookie. Bam. 20 yards.
What a snag by the rookie. And Kurt Warner put that right where he could catch it. And a great little pump by Kurt Warner. And they talked about picking on Duron Jenkins with a double move. And when you see a quarterback pump, that usually means a double move. And we're going to get a chance to look at it right here. Tight coverage. Oh, sold him big leg on the slant and just went right to the corner of the end zone. You see Jenkins' shoulders. When you turn a guy's shoulders like that, he's dead. Dead in the water. That's a big-time route by a rookie wide receiver.
And Warner finding Holt. Watch the touch on this football.
Boy, Kurt Warner just laying it right up. And that is not an easy catch for Torrey Holt. Rod Woodson, just a split second late coming across. And with that Rams speed out wide, it's tough. And he's not used to playing there. And that's the range that they talked about. They were going to make Rod Woodson play the whole field today, the Rams, and Torrey Holt getting on the board. And it feels good, your very first game, to get on the board. You don't think he's excited, Gus?
Look at him.
He'll be smiling all week. There you go.
London Fletcher, the diminutive middle linebacker. Coach Ramil, what did he tell us about Fletcher?
He said he's listed at 5'10", but he said he's no bigger than 5'8". I can eat soup off the top of his head.
But he's partying right now. That's because the Rams in complete control of this football game, up 27-10.
And what a huge statement for the Rams to make. And they're going to have a bye next week, Gus, and this gives them tremendous confidence. Another week in the offense, another week with Kurt Warner working with the wide receivers. They're going to feel real good during that bye week.
Corey Harris takes the knee. Kurt Warner putting up some great yards. 26 of 42, 291, and his teammates are behind him.
He's walking to the sideline now like it's no big deal. He's thrown 3 touchdowns.
Hey, it's like playing in the Arena League. What's the difference?
Just another day's work.
On the other sideline, though, different story for the Ravens.
Yeah, well, that's Rod Woodson was doing a heck of a job to try to get over there. That's Deron Jenkins, and you cannot bite that much on that slant move, and you can't find rookies that sell the ball, just get off that line of scrimmage, have those couple steps, and then get right back to the corner.
Slant pattern, incomplete, intended for Ismael. Kurt Warner. We asked him, we said, so did you talk to your mom and your dad? Did they give you any words of encouragement? And he said, no, they understand that this is just normal for me. I make my living playing football. I've been doing it all my life, and I'm not going to approach this game any differently than a game in the Arena League or NFL Europe. I come to play, and he has. Underneath, Evans. Chuck Evans over the 25 to the 27. Keith Lyle with the tackle. Tonight on CBS, 60 Minutes. Followed by the CBS Sunday movie, Goodfellas, starring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Ray Liotta. Justin Armour at the 35, up to the 37-yard line. Light and Billy Jenkins make the tackle. And that brings us to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to go. 27-10 Rams. The running backs, Holcomb 25, the fullback, Marshall Faulk 28, the tailback, and they are enjoying this one right now. Rams on top big, 27-10. Gus Johnson, Brent Jones with you, and in talking to both these teams, a lot of optimism coming into the game. Your reaction to game number 1 so far?
Well, I think the Rams have been very impressive on the offensive side of the ball as well as the defensive side of the ball.
Scott Mitchell looking for Armour, has him at the 40-yard line and dragged out of bounds at the 35.
Justin Armour's been the go-to guy for the Ravens today, and like we said, he's got great savvy underneath running those routes, medium to deep range. The real long ball, they got to get Jermaine Lewis in the action.
Jermaine Lewis without a catch. Now, this is a man that last year had 41 catches for 784 yards. Had 6 50-plus yard touchdowns. First down. Mitchell. Scooped up by Aaron Pierce. Tackled by number 56, Charlie Clemens. They keep him in bounds. Clock continues to run.
Tackled by Clemens.
It sets off now for Ryan Billick. He's on on the walkie-talkie.
When it rains, it pours.
1:30 and counting. Mitchell. Intercepted. What a catch. Keith Lyle laid out and came up with it.
Scott Mitchell was trying to direct Justin Armour to turn it up into the end zone. The problem is Keith Lyle saw the same signal, and he just got there a little quicker than Justin Armour. You're going to see Mitchell come out of the pocket, give the old push. Hey, get up at the field. The problem is, ball was a little high. Keith Lyle has made a lot of interceptions the last couple years.
Keith Lyle.
And Gus, that wasn't just an interception. That was a heck of a catch. That was big time.
Tough day at the office for Scott Mitchell. The numbers. Keith Lyle holds on to that football. Now the Rams take over. They're going to pound this one straight ahead. 36-minute tailback. That's Justin Watson. In his first year out of San Diego State.
You know, we heard so much about Torrey Holt. We went into practice this week, and I saw him on one play turn his hips, get up high, get his feet down, and catch a touchdown in the back of the end zone. You're going to see him right here give an inside slant move and get Deron Jenkins off his turf and turns his shoulders and gets deep. And when you do this, when you get this guy to move and turn his shoulders like that, it's all over. And Torrey Holt knows to go to the corner of the end zone because that safety, Rod Woodson, is coming. You want as much room between that safety and yourself in the pass as possible. And you just can't teach that. Rookies should know that, Gus.
Let's see. And that should do it. Dick Vermeil. First one in the books. The old coach has to smile after this one because they're happy in St. Louis. Brian Billick says, what a job by your team. And what a job, Brent, by that young man there.
Obviously the player of the game. He spread it around. He did everything. And there's London Fletcher. He's dancing. He's dancing around the field today, making plays on defense. But this game was about Kurt Warner and how well he stood up to the pressure, and he made it happen.
The final numbers for Kurt Warner, 36 and 42, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And the St. Louis Rams head into the bye week, 1-0 with the 27-10 win over the Baltimore Ravens.
Gus, instrumental that they won today because had they lost, they would have had to sit around for 2 weeks and hear, hey, it's the same old Rams. Now they've got some confidence. They've got some confidence in their young quarterback right there, and it is going to be a heck of a year, I think, for these Rams. They've got the Falcons coming in after the bye, go on the road to the Bengals, and then the 49ers are coming in. And Gus, I think they might win 2 out of those next 3.
Cincinnati, Atlanta, and San Francisco. A lot of weapons on this St. Louis team. That young man, Torrey Holt, 6th overall player selected out of NC State. Big touchdown. There he is again. He'll never forget this feeling here. And the Rams won't forget this one for a while.